because I never listened to that audiobook. I listened to Ready Player 2.
Oh yeah, but you read the first one.
But
though,
I
right?
read the first one.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, let me just go, because I was at work today, and I was like, let me just fucking listen
Put
to
on
this
something
fucking,
educational.
Listen to this fucking bullshit. Oh, let me get
Yeah, I was freaking talking. I
like.
Oh, what do they got? What flavors?
There's watermelon, just regular margarita, strawberry, or mango.
I think I will start with mango.
Mango?
Yeah.
Let's see what side it's on. I don't know what side it's on, but we'll figure.
Are these tall cans?
How's tall cans.
Are they strong cans?
They, they pack a little punch.
All right.
I won't say they're super strong, but I won't say,
They're super not strong either.
I won't say they're super not strong.
I want to. Yeah, please.
I think I had the mango one, and
Thank you.
I was like, ooh.
Pretty fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna try the strawberry one.
Let's see. But I want to get around to that watermelon one too.
This episode is brought to you by Cayman Jack Margarita. You ever want a margarita in a can? Well, here you motherfucking go.
I imagine that was on like a live commercials. Like, you ever want a margarita in a can? Here you motherfucking go.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take your margarita places, sometimes you don't want to carry around like a glass jar.
Oh, 5%,
like
we're chilling.
Yeah,
5.8%. Cool.
What'd you think? This was like a 7%er?
Well, because the ones that I've been trying lately are the Cutwater ones.
Oh, dude,
those are like 12%.
Yeah,
those are strong.
I think they just make those different.
No, yeah. Here you
Cheers.
go. Cheers. Yeah, those are meant to get you fucked up. Ooh, a little ASMR slurping there. That's
there we go.
really good.
But
Those
hell
are
yeah.
super tasty.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were golfing, I was sipping on those, and I was like, oh, this is fucking...
I'm down for that.
I like this right
That's
here.
dangerous. That tastes like straight up mango juice, honestly.
Dude,
like
yeah.
carbonated mango juice.
Yeah, it tastes like a fucking... What you think like a popsicle would fucking
Yeah,
taste like,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
But yes, guys, you already know what it is. This is Too High for TV, where two guys get too high and talk about a little bit too much TV.
Just a little bit.
Just tiny bit. That is up for debate still.
Yeah.
That's why we have you guys here. We talk about it, and you get to debate whether we talk too much about TV or not.
Well, but we can't ever find the answer though at some point, because we can't just end up being like for TV.
Yeah.
Or much for TV.
Yeah.
For TV. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We need to be too much.
Yeah.
We need to be at least a little bit too much at all times.
Yeah, guys, this is episode number 62. We dropped a two-parter over the past couple weeks, if you guys like that, because we talked about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and then we ranked both of our, all of our Spider-Man movies. Games.
Honestly, like in hindsight, I don't know why we didn't expect that to be two different episodes.
It just made sense to do it all together.
Yeah, like a Spider-Man
Yeah.
fiasco. Yeah, definitely.
It was just funny because that day I had never, like, I thought like, okay, this is gonna be, an episode, right? This is gonna be a pretty good episode. We're gonna talk about a lot of shit, but it didn't really hit me until like that day. I think, I don't know if I was like or if it was like a few days before or something.
Yeah, didn't you watch Spider-Verse again?
Yeah. And I think that Friday at work, I was like, damn, this is gonna be probably a pretty long episode.
Yeah,
because like we're gonna talk pretty long about
just the movie
in general, because it was such a great movie,
Mm-hmm.
And us ranking our freaking favorite Spider-Man movies, games, etc. is like that's an episode in itself.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. When I think it was the night before. 'Twas the night before the episode that
All through the house.
Yeah, that I was sitting there, writing up my list and everything, and doing my little doodles and whatnot. And I was like, oh fuck, this took me like an hour and a half, like 2 hours just to decide what was what or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like, it's for sure gonna be a longer talking point, I think.
But it was nice, It was nice that I that's something that we've talked about before, is like doing maybe like recording 2 episodes in a day
at once. Yeah, for sure.
And it just worked out that we got 2 episodes worth of content within one episode.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked out nice, like the way it freaking like it's separated in the middle too, because we really had a nice separate point where we were like, okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Yeah,
and you're like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, every time, bro. It always happens. I mean, I was thinking about that because at first I was like, damn, I really did go a lot. But I thought about it. I only went twice.
Yeah.
And we technically did 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. The math adds up.
You
know?
technically only went once per episode.
Exactly. The math still adds up. Mm-hmm. Or I haven't technically broken that record yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Randomly, I also had this thought as well. If we ever do a shared top 10 list where there's more than just the 2 of us, I think we slightly need to change the structure a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what ended up taking up a lot of time is like we would each talk about all of the movies at different points because they all existed at different points along our list. I think it might be more efficient if we just chronologically go through a release order or something like that and then tell where those like things are on our list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we go through Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, talk about where those are on your list and then move on and stuff. So
I like that.
I think it'll go a little quicker just for next time we do a Spider-Man ranking.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. We're going to revisit Spider-Man.
Who knows? Maybe once. I mean, I'm fairly certain that once Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, my ranking of those two movies will change.
I was just also thinking earlier in the week, it'd be nice to have like revisit episodes where maybe we go back and watch something else and we're like, damn, I did not think about this the first time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
I definitely think about this different than I did the first time.
Yeah, because that's something I've noticed with. Well, I mean, I think Spider-Verse was the one I did it most recently with, but just all those movies in general, it's like you get so much out of a second viewing or a second watch or a revisitation in general, you know.
I watched that shit for a third time.
Nice.
I went for a third time to watch
I think
Spider-Man.
I've still only seen it twice. Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But yeah, I got to, in the like week, I mean, not really like a week hiatus that we had because we still dropped an episode.
Yeah.
But like in the week that we didn't sit down.
No, yeah, recording
I
hiatus.
did get to sit down and watch a cool amount of stuff because a good amount of stuff dropped.
Nice.
So,
what'd you start checking out?
fucking on Apple TV, Platonic. I was talking to you about that on that Friday.
Yeah.
And I think one day I
It's
was
Seth
like,
Rogen and
Rose Byrne.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, oh, let me check this out. And it's really fucking good.
Nice.
Like, it's really funny. Obviously it's Seth Rogen, so it's,
Probably
gonna
gonna
be
be funny,
It's
yeah.
gonna have that Seth Rogen humor. But I also thought it's an interesting show because I remember we were talking about how it's just like, it's literally just a show about two friends that are later in life, like they're like, mid to later 30s, and they're going through just shit. One's going through a divorce, one's trying to go back to work and stuff like that. So it's them really just being there for each other as friends.
Nice.
Right? And I think like the common thing in those shows is like, oh my God, they're friends, but then they like
fall in love,
love,
yeah.
But it's like, no, like the whole point of the show is just like, they're just friends. That
That's
are,
cool.
Like, just
I like
there
that.
for each other.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it's fucking funny, dude. It's really, really funny. Obviously those two co-starred in Neighbors 1 and 2. So they're super hilarious.
They got chemistry already. Pre-built chemistry.
Yeah, it was a really great show. It's still airing. I think it has 6 episodes out so far. It airs every Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So, check that out on Apple TV. That shit's pretty fucking fire. I like that shit
week
a lot.
by week type thing.
Yeah. And then just stay on that same topic of show, I started watching New Girl. Not a new show, but
New Girl's great, dude.
Yeah, just started watching that because
Yeah.
I was at my buddy Nico's house, and his family's all into New Girl, and they were watching it, and I was eating a burrito. And I was sitting there at his table, and I was like, "Oh, is this New Girl?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Huh."
That's the one. I think honestly, it's. I don't really know what it is like, rated in the cultural zeitgeist, if you will. But
You like that word, huh? Zeitgeist.
yeah, I use it as much as possible. But I think that show is pretty underrated. Once you get through the whole thing, to me, that's one of the few sitcoms that knew when to stop. It doesn't go for like 10 or 11 seasons. I think it has like 7 or 8 or something like that.
I think something like that.
So it doesn't overstay its welcome. Every single episode is fucking funny in some way or another. Like, there's no throwaway garbage episodes.
Fuck no.
And I think the characters in it are pretty top notch. Like, that is for sure one of my favorite sitcom casts of all time. Like, honestly, I think New Girl at least gets in my top 5 for sitcoms. Maybe even top 3, possibly. It's pretty dang good.
Yeah, when I was watching, I was like, damn, like I might like this more than How I Met Your Mother. And you guys
Honestly,
already know how much we talk about How I Met Your Mother and how much we like it.
No, yeah,
But I
it's
was
really
sitting there
good.
and I was like, dang, like it is very similar to How I Met Your Mother, right? Like it's the escapades of a bunch of group of friends, going through life together as they're like late 20s, early 30s and stuff like that. But I think like I don't know, the fact that How I Met Your Mother is that regular stereotypical sitcom-y type show where it's like there's the crowd and then there's the laughing track and all that stuff. Like I like that within itself. Like that new girl is just, it's not like your typical like sitcom.
It feels a little more grounded, I
Yeah.
think. Like it's not like super like slice of life nitty gritty or anything like that. There is still tons of hijinks that happen that would probably not happen as often as it does to a single group of people, right? Because it's a TV show at the end of the day. But it is much, much more grounded, I think. Like it's more about like their day-to-day issues in their lives as opposed to like How I Met Your Mother is like basically what the fuck kind of crazy shenanigans can we put Ted in because he's chasing after a girl.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
all the time pretty much.
Yeah.
Versus like I feel like each of the cast members gets a good like not even a single episode. Like every character has like multiple good episodes across all the seasons because they never like there's times where like Jess is not even in the episodes.
Yeah.
And they're still good because the rest of the cast is that good, you know?
Yeah, dude, that shit's fucking fire, bro. I'm so sad it took me this long to freaking get onto some New Girl, but
How far are you right now?
I think I'm at like season 2, episode 4 or something like that.
Do you have a favorite character yet?
I think it's Schmidt, bro. I think
Schmidt's hilarious.
Schmidt's funny.
Yeah.
Just because he is that like stereotypical like douchebaggy character,
Yeah.
but he's not like all the way douchebaggy. Like
No.
he has some really nice traits to him.
Yeah.
Where he's just, like he's just Schmidt. Like,
What I
he's
like
great.
about Schmidt is that like they portray him as a douchebag, and I think he portrays himself as a douchebag.
But he's just a really nice
No,
guy.
yeah, because of his background, because of how he
Yeah.
grew up, you can tell that's a mask, and
Yeah.
like the show makes a good point of it, and the actor, I think his name is Max Greenfield, does like a super good job of those moments where like the douche jar falls away, and you just see Schmidt, and he's just like fucking, he's great, dude. Oh yeah, I love Schmidt.
Yeah,
He's
I think
awesome.
one of my favorite moments is when it's like Thanksgiving, and she fucking invites Justin Long's character over.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking,
Yeah.
Fucking what's his name?
Oh,
Like
damn it.
Gleisman or something like
yeah,
that.
something.
And
Yeah.
Cece's over there, and fucking Schmidt's cooking, and Schmidt takes his cooking very seriously.
Very
He
seriously.
doesn't fuck around in the kitchen. And Cece does something, and he like yells at her, and Cece's talking to Jess later. She's like, Schmidt yelled at me, and Jess is like, oh my god, like I'm so sorry, like he just gets like that with his cooking, blah blah blah. He gets a little intense. She's like, I think I'm kind of like into him, and I was just like, this is fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
This is fucking great.
Fuck, what is his name? I think it's like Gislinger or Gilslinger or
Yeah, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
fucking funny. Oh, Genslinger.
Genslinger.
Paul Genslinger.
Paul
That's his
Genslinger,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. He comes back a few times on the show. He's really good. I like Justin Long.
But yeah, it's a great show. It's freaking hilarious.
Nice.
The dude that plays Nick obviously plays Peter B. Parker.
Yep. Fantastic.
And
Gotta love some
It was
Jake
so
Johnson.
funny because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, damn, why does this dude sound so fucking familiar?
Yeah.
And then when we were at fucking, I think at the Flash.
At Flash,
right?
yeah.
I think Buddy told me.
Yeah, because
And,
we
I
were
was like-
we were in the movie on premiere night when we were watching Across the Spider-Verse,
Uh-huh.
and she leaned in to me and she was like, "Hey, why does that sound like Nick from New Girl?" And I was like, "Cause it is him."
That's fucking hilarious. Did she not see the first one?
Into the Spider-Verse? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. She did. I think, but I mean, Evelyn is a fan of superhero movies. She will enjoy them when she watches them, but she doesn't like religiously rewatch them the same way we do. So like she probably hasn't seen it since when it came out,
It's so funny. But Efren texted me the other day, and he was like, "Hey, is it all bad if I go to see the second, like, if I go to see Across the Spider-Verse and I haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty.
You
all
gotta
bad.
see the first one.
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead.
pretty all bad.
They do like a decent job of a recap, but I think you get a lot more out of it if you've seen the first movie.
Yeah, like all those emotional beats hit a lot more. Damn.
Yeah.
I do have.
I don't think it's completely impossible to jump into the second one without seeing the first one, but it will be a chore. Like there's a lot going on in that movie that like is just easier to grasp if you've seen the first one.
Yeah. Like all the, oh, we're gonna start this over again. Like,
Yeah.
I got bit by a radioactive spider. Like that makes a lot more sense. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot more callbacks. Yeah.
Especially just jumping right in. Like the first one does a good job of slowly introducing the multiverse to you. This one is like, here's this Earth, here's this Earth, here's these characters. Oh, all three of these characters on screen are from different Earths. It's like kind of a lot to swallow right off the bat,
Yeah, it's just age. We live in just the multiverse age, bro.
Yeah, we really do.
Like even I was watching the new season of Black Mirror. Have you watched it?
No, I haven't, but Buddy's been telling me about some of the episodes. I'm not a Black Mirror fan.
You're not? Oh, that's right, huh?
No, tell me about the episode, and then I'll tell you why I don't like it.
I don't know. Like the first episode, it's literally about just this chick who's going throughout her day-to-day life. Like she freaking is the boss at her job or whatever.
Yeah, the TV show one, right?
The TV show one.
Yeah.
That one was like, it was funny because Buddy was telling me about that, and I was like, I don't know, like just because the thing about Black Mirror is it's gotten so popular.
Yeah.
And it definitely, like, the last season, I felt like strayed away from, like, the core of Black Mirror and what kind of, like, made it such a hit when I first watched it and when probably a lot of people first watched it.
I feel like recently it's been like, let's figure out who's the biggest name actor we can attach to an episode, and then we'll write something around them.
See, and that was my point I was making the other day. Like, I don't know, like, when you show me, like, when you tell me Salma Hayek and when you show me fucking Aaron Paul, it's like, fuck. Like, I love those actors, but it almost seems like you're just showing them to me so you can pull me into the show.
Like, is this a gimmick?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, like last season had like fucking Anthony Mackie, had Miley Cyrus. And the episodes weren't bad, but it wasn't like
they weren't the best.
They weren't the best. It wasn't like the earlier seasons where you're like, I don't know who the fuck this is acting on fucking screen right now, but they're fucking awesome. Yeah. And this shit's fucking great. But like honestly, like it felt like the first episode kind of got back to that old Black Mirror because it was kind of was a little different. It did feel definitely like a little bit more jokey. Like there was one scene where fucking what's the lady's name from Schitt's Creek?
Annie Murphy.
Annie Murphy.
Yeah.
Where obviously her character Joan figures out that she fucking
spoilers for Black Mirror episode 1.
Spoilers for Black Mirror episode 1. So she basically finds out that through her streaming app Streamberry, she basically signed away her likeness and everything.
Yeah.
And basically gave Streamberry the right to do whatever they fucking want with like her likeness and her life and everything like that. And so she is kind of going through this existential crisis of like, what the fuck? Like, this, like my whole life is basically on display. My whole life is a show that everyone is like eating up right now. Like it's the most popular show. I got fucking fired from my job. Blah blah blah. And she tries to make the case to her lawyer. Well, like Salma Hayek isn't fucking gonna like this. Like, how is she gonna like? You know, having to do this, blah, 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 or whatever for a show. Then
doesn't she like shit in the church? And
exactly. Like
crazy shit,
in the church.
right?
Yeah, but it comes to find out that it's not actually Salma Hayek. It's this, they have, like Streamberry has this crazy quantum computer that basically
generates
basically generates their fucking...
It's like AI generated.
Yeah, AI generated shows that go like, it literally like writes in real time, it edits in real time, it fucking does all the CGI.
All the production is just done right there.
Yeah. And, fuck, where was I going with this? I forgot where I was fucking going. Oh, yeah. So, like, Annie Murphy's character, like, literally just goes and gets a bunch of cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And fucking gets some, fucking... Not Pepto, it's a fucking basically like laxative drink, and she fucking drinks that shit, and then dresses up in like a cheerleader outfit, fucking draws some shit on her forehead, and goes into a church while people are getting married, and just is like, "Merry Christmas, motherfuckers!" Blah blah blah, and like fucking pulls up her skirt and just shits on the floor, and it's just super. It was pretty funny, but then it goes deeper into like they break into Streamberry. And they're gonna like break the fucking computer, and they get into the room with the computer, and fucking Michael Cera is there, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, why is Michael Cera here? And he basically explains that like the whole time Annie Murphy is thinking that she is the Joan person that the show is based off of, when really she's just the first level in an infinite number of Joans that the fucking computer generated, basically. So she's Joan level 1, and her show is based off of Source Joan. Yeah. And she's like, what the fuck, Source Joan? Yeah. So basically shows how Source Joan has the same exact life, does the same exact thing, but her Streamberry, which is the real life Streamberry, fucking generates the show, and Annie Murphy is the main character to the show, the person that's playing Joan, and she's just level 1. And Salma Hayek is playing basically her AI generated fucking likeness
she's
or
like
whatever.
Joan level 2, right?
She's Salma Hayek level 1, and she is basically generated thinking that she is the real Salma Hayek, who's playing this character Joan. Okay. So it's basically like
confusing.
But when they like tell you that, you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like this chick isn't the main chick the whole fucking time. Yeah. And it's just funny to fucking her be like, who the fuck is Annie Murphy?
Yeah.
Like, Annie Murphy being like, who the fuck is Annie Murphy?
Yeah.
And Michael Cera's like, you know Annie Murphy, Schitt's Creek, like, and he fucking
pulls it up.
Yeah, pulls it up. Yeah. And she's like, what the fuck? Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
That seems to me like they're trying to talk like about a couple different things. Like one is like how nobody ever reads the terms and conditions to stuff, so you don't know what you're signing over when you sign up for those like website streaming, whatever MB. Mm-hmm. Two, obviously like the AI generated scare in terms of like how they affect Hollywood and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But also, with all the different levels and stuff like that, that also seems to me like they're maybe trying to talk about like how copy and paste everything is nowadays and like all the different mediums that we have, whether it's like social media, YouTube, like, you know, movies and TV, and the same thing as well. It's just like different iterations of the same stuff over and over again.
Well, another big thing is like there's a scene where there's a reporter interviewing like the CEO of Streamberry, and she's talking about like the AI and how it's been generating all these shows, and all of them are literally like, Sean is awful, Joe is awful, blah, blah, blah is awful. And the reporter's like, what's up with all these? Like, why not something like this person's great or something? And she goes, you know, we tried that. Like, we tried to do like, oh, this guy's awesome. But like, people are more into like the drama, like the dramatic shit. The shit that they don't like about their life, but they see on the fucking TV screen, and that sucks them in, and they like fucking watch it. So it's also a play on that, how we're like just super into dramatic bullshit.
Yeah, hardcore.
And I'm someone that's super into dramatic bullshit. So I was like, stop talking about me.
You're like, hey man, whoa dude, chill out.
But it was cool. It definitely felt like a return to form of Black Mirror, and it felt like they were using characters like, or actors like Annie Murphy and Salma Hayek in like a good way. Like it was very like self-aware at certain points, you know, when obviously she finally comes to the realization that she's not actually Joan, she's just Annie Murphy, blah, 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 blah. But like Salma Hayek was super fucking funny in that shit. Yeah, she says some crazy shit that you wouldn't think freaking
Salma Hayek would say.
Salma Hayek would freaking say. Like she goes into Streamberry and she's like, oh, can I use the restroom? She's like, cool, yeah, we have the restroom right there. Like the receptionist is like freaking out that it's Salma Hayek. She's like, oh my god, like yeah, we have a fucking bathroom right over there. She's like, you know, it's a little public, you know, ever since, you know, your show in the last episode, like every time I go into a public restroom, like people are like, oh my god, there's Leah's shit everywhere. Yeah. And and it's just funny because she's like, you know, it's really hard to go to a public restroom when people think just hot birria is gonna come out of your butt, you know. And I was like, oh, that was fucking funny.
Hilarious. That's good.
And yeah, she just says like other, like she's cussing, and, you know, she's calling people like assholes, and it's funny because in like a different, so like when Annie Murphy's Joan is watching her show, like the show catches up to the point where Salma Hayek's character turns on Streamberry and she sees the show. Joan is awful, and Kate Blanchett is playing that version of Joan.
Okay.
And there's a part when Annie Murphy's character and Salma Hayek are like, they're working together because they're trying to figure all this shit out. And then Annie Murphy's like, oh my god, I wonder how like Kate Blanchett feels. And Salma Hayek goes, fuck her. I was just like, god damn, that's so awesome.
She did this about us, god damn it.
But yeah, it was great. The second episode definitely way different. There's no like technology based shit to it.
Yeah, is that the one with like the killers who turn out to be the like parents or whatever all that time? Yeah, I heard about that one too.
That shit was crazy because it's like a very slow burn and you're like, where's this going?
Yeah.
And then you think one person did it, because I was definitely like, this person's a fucking killer. This person's actually the fucking killer. And then it's the fucking mom. It's the mom and dad. You're like, holy shit. And then the end is like a fucking like a Netflix like crime like documentary style.
Oh, okay.
Because the whole shtick is like, the student and his girl are like filmmakers, and they're like trying to do this film.
Yeah, documenting like the killer, right? The serial killers.
Well, they're going to document like this egg dude for their film, and then they fucking go to this bar where actually fucking the dude that plays Podrick.
Oh yeah.
He's the dude that. It's funny because I was watching, I was like, who is this fucking guy? I was like, who is this guy? I can't fucking. And then I was watching a reaction video too, and someone was like, oh yeah, I'm glad fucking so and so who plays Podrick. I was like, damn it, that's where he's from. But he's fucking great because he has a Scottish accent. Fucking hilarious.
Nice.
But so they're initially doing a film about this egg dude that is like a protector of like eggs. Well, I don't know, something stupid. And they go to this fucking pub, and then the fucking main character finally starts getting to the story about this freaking serial killer that they had, because the whole time his girlfriend's like, oh my god, this place is so nice, like why is there like nobody here? Like, and at first you're like, oh damn, that is kind of creepy, like there's no one here, like oh my god, is this some like crazy cult style shit? Like, And then he starts telling the story about how there's this dude who was fucking like this crazy dude, like, you know, just like a quiet guy, not necessarily quiet, but like not necessarily crazy, but like, you know, just a quiet guy,
Kinda
kept
off.
to himself.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little off, you know, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
And then there was these tourists that came, right? Nothing, you know, again, nothing out of the ordinary. Tourists came there all the time, but then one day they fucking went missing, and then they stayed going missing days, weeks, and they couldn't find them. And then finally, like, I think they said Princess Diana died, so fucking, you know, that shit went out the window, and then the papers were just filled with Princess Diana's death and everything, so everybody forgot.
Yeah.
But then once people, you know, go on Yelp and they read like, oh, there's a fucking serial killer here that killed 8 people, no one wants to fucking come back.
Yeah, okay.
So he's telling this whole story. The serial killer like shot his dad, blah 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 blah, and then the girlfriend's like, oh my god, why don't we? So like super inconsiderate, like tells this whole story about like, you know, yeah, my dad was on the police force, like he went to go investigate this dude. The dude fucking shot him, and then went to the hospital, got this disease, and then like died later. And then the girlfriend's like, oh my god, why don't we do like our film on the serial killer? And I was like, what the fuck? You're fucked up.
Yeah.
And
let's profit off your trauma, baby.
exactly. And it's funny because they're building this film, and then they go and take it to these executives, right? And they're like, well, what's the hook? Like, you know, like what is this hook? Like when we're taking it to these like streaming services or whatever, they're gonna ask like, okay, like what's like the catch for this?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, you know, yeah, I've heard about this dude or whatever from this place, but he's no like Ted Bundy or anything like that,
Sure.
you know. And so they're talking to this executive, and then the girlfriend's like, well, his dad got shot, blah blah blah, and she's like, oh my god, like, and he died of his injuries, and he's like, oh well, you know, like no, not really, not like exactly, you know. And yeah, the girlfriend basically just says like, oh yeah, we have access like to the house or whatever, and the dude's like,
trying to like sell the movie.
Exactly,
and shit,
like trying to sell the movie, like, oh yeah, like we'll get you something different, blah 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 blah. And so they go back to the house, and they fucking turn on this black light, and they just see like a bunch of fucking just nasty fucking like bunch of blood and everything like that, and they're like, holy fuck. And so they're driving away, and as they're driving away, they're trying to make light of this situation, because obviously you go to a place, you're not expecting to see a bunch of blood and crazy shit, you know. They actually brought some, like, the dude brought some lemon juice. He's like, oh yeah, this is for the cameras, you know. Like, I don't know what that accent was, but
he's trying to be Scottish.
Exactly. And
it's a good attempt.
Yeah, so he does a little bit, and then they turn on the black light, like, holy fuck, we didn't need this shit. So they're driving back, trying to make light of the situation, and they fucking, a car fucking, like a semi-truck hits them.
Oh, dang.
They go to the fucking hospital, and this fucking sketch dude's at the hospital who you think is fucking doing the killings like the whole time. And when everybody leaves, their girlfriend goes back with the dude's mom. And the mom is giving off some weird vibes like the whole time, but you really think it's just because like her husband got killed, and she's just like obviously hella sad about it. And there's these things with these tapes, right? They have these tapes of this old show Bergerac or whatever, like this crime, like this British crime show that the son says the mom really likes because the main dude had like a cute bum or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so there's just a bunch of tapes, Bergerac, this season, that season, right? So the fucking girlfriend is back trying to edit their documentary that they're doing, and has one of the Bergerac tapes in it. And it goes to the end, and then all of a sudden it cuts to like some other shit of like the dude saying, oh hey, what's up, Ian? And Ian was like the dude that was like the killer or whatever. And you're like, what the fuck? And they were like, oh, like show our guests, and they show the tourists that are all fucking tied up that went missing. And then it fucking pans, and you see the dude's the main character's dad, that's the cop, and you're like, what the fuck?
Oh god.
And then he's like, oh, the mistress is gonna have fun with you, and then the fucking a door opens, and it's the fucking main dude's mom when she was younger in like a fucking nurse's outfit, and then she puts like a mask on, and then she has like a drill, and fucking does crazy shit. And obviously the fucking girlfriend finds out, and she's all freaked out, and she tries to run away, and she freaking is trying to go across this river like at night, and then slips and falls and fucking smacks her head on a rock.
Damn.
And then just fucking her body drifts off into the fucking river, right?
Damn.
And then the mom doesn't know where she's at, and she's freaking out obviously because she's like, oh shit, she just found out, blah 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 blah. So she goes back and fucking collects all the tapes, because the son's in the hospital. He had to stay in the hospital because he had a concussion from the accident or whatever. So she grabs all the tapes, puts them on the table, and writes a note that says like, for your film or whatever, and just puts mum. And then she fucking goes and like hangs herself.
Damn.
Shit. Yeah.
Crazy.
So his fucking dad's dead. His girl is fucking went missing.
Yeah.
Fucking they don't know where the fuck she's at. And then his mom commits suicide.
Crazy.
Only to find out that his mom and his dad fucking committed these murders.
Yeah. Poor bastard.
Yeah. It was fucking
hardcore
fucking
shit,
sketch.
dude.
Yeah. But the ending is like they make this crazy documentary about him, and then this like documentary like wins an award, whole bunch of shit like that, and like the tourists come back to the place because obviously this fucking crazy.
Now it's got some kind of story to it.
Yeah, and it, it's just commentary about how we like are super crazy, like in love with like these sketchy serial killer stories.
Yeah, 100%. Like crazy, intense,
crazy shit this week, man. That I've been watching.
Yeah, I like certain episodes of Black Mirror. I feel like sometimes they just like. Actually, no, not sometimes. I feel like every single time they just push a little too hard for me in terms of like how edgy they want to be about stuff.
They get very sad.
Yeah, every single episode is just super depressing and again, like very like edgy and not in like a funny like I'm Batman kind of edgy way. Like really just like shitting in a church or like fucking killing and basically putting this poor guy through like a mental fucking like episode and stuff like that. And like I just wonder where the line is in like the Black Mirror executives like vision board of like, because obviously it takes a lot of inspiration from like Twilight Zone, right? It's these like crazy scenarios where trippy shit happens in all different forms of life that are essentially supposed to be some kind of like commentary or lesson on like something that happens in the real world. But I wonder how much they like strive for that. And then how much on the other side is like, okay, but how fucked up can we make this though? You know what I mean? Like every single episode is just like fucking horrible to the people that are in it. And that's the part that turns me off about it a little bit.
Just because I think a lot of it is like diving into how like, yeah, there's a lot of technology based around like the crazier episodes of Black Mirror. But I think a lot of it boils down to just like how fucked up people can be like in situations when like, maybe they're emotionally distraught and shit like that, which, like it is pretty crazy to sit down and think about, like, what's the most fucked up shit someone can do if, like...
they're pushed to their breaking point.
Yeah. Like, one of the craziest ones, like, for me was when it's, like, this couple, and... at the beginning opens up, they're like driving this van and the dude's looking at the phone while he's driving and the wife makes it a point to like, hey, put away your phone. He goes off on a drive later and he ends up dying in a fucking car accident. And so she like orders this like replica of him. Like, I forget, like she basically has to like put like something in like a fucking bathtub for however long, and then it grows into like her husband.
Creepy.
And yeah, it was like a freaky, because it is like, dang, if you are to that point where someone that like your husband, your spouse, or whatever that you love just suddenly dies, and you don't get to like say any last words to them, and you're just so depressed and mourning that like if you had that option of like, oh, let me get this fucking life-size doll that can fill the void that I'm feeling in my place right now, a lot of people would probably fucking do that shit. And it's weird to just like, okay, how would this play out?
Yeah, how would it
really
happen?
Sit down and think about this shit.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be pretty fucked up after freaking thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
shit,
most definitely. Yeah. I just think it's funny that they like then go and make an episode that's like, everybody just loves this shit. I don't know why. And then they're like peddling it like in every single episode, every single season.
Yeah. Fuck it, dude.
Some Black Mirror.
I'm here for some Black Mirror, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
I've always been a Twilight Zone fan more.
See, I watched like a couple Twilight Zone episodes like in school, like when I was younger, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch some Twilight Zone.
The old ones are really good, and then the newest one that they started doing as well, the Jordan Peele produced one, is also super good too. It's more updated for sure.
I gotta check those out.
Those are good. We can do a Black Mirror versus Twilight Zone episode one day.
I'm down.
Like, because again, I feel like they're essentially two sides of the same coin. You know, they're pretty much the same thing.
They're very, very similar.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you there.
I can't disagree with you there. Mate.
But yeah, dude, you gotta at least watch that second episode strictly for fucking Podrick and his Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Just being fucking
Podrick being Scott.
Yeah, and he makes a comment. He's like, "Oh, look at your head." He's like, "What? Now you gonna start fucking telling us what your pronouns are?" Like, just some crazy shit.
It's like, whoa, Pod.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
Chill out, buddy.
But yeah, man, should we get into the movies that we're
I'm down.
Fucking talking about?
Let's do it. Probably start with Transformers first, yeah?
Yeah, I'm down to start out with some fucking Transformers.
I'm more excited to talk about Flash than I am Transformers.
Honestly, I'm like more excited to talk about like Transformers than I am to talk
about
Flash. Yeah.
I thought Transformers sucked.
I have this thing about Transformers where I'm pretty sure I've said it here on the podcast, but I don't care how much like the story like sucks, just because I think Transformers stories aren't that complicated in general. Like it's literally just good versus evil.
Yeah.
And like the fight for freedom. You know,
sometimes that's what the movies have led you to believe. But there's a lot of good possibilities for Transformer stories.
Yeah,
but that's neither here nor there.
But for the most part, it is just like
simple.
Autobots versus Decepticons.
Yeah, 100%.
Decepticons trying to take over the world.
There's
Autobots
some
are here to start.
Device or fucking Cybertronian like artifact that somehow made its way to Earth. All of them somehow always make their way to Earth. And yeah, basically the Autobots and the Decepticons fight over it. And then there's some humans that are the MacGuffins who have like some special connection to that artifact every single time.
Because humans are special, man. Humans are special.
I mean, I do agree with that, but I don't need them in Transformers movies. Yeah, no, I think I did enjoy parts of the movie. I think that like weirdly enough, this is gonna sound silly, but like because I did really enjoy the previous movie. I think Bumblebee is super good. It might be my favorite of the Transformers movies, aside from maybe Revenge of the Fallen, the second one in the like original trilogy. But I almost missed like the Michael Bay-isms in this movie. This one just felt very flat to me. Not that there weren't some cool action set pieces, but they were too far and few in between to me in comparison to some of the other movies.
Yeah, Transformers lends itself very much to Michael Bay's style of like directing
explosions,
explosions,
blowing
and, like,
shit up.
Yeah,
giant robots fighting each other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like that. Michael Bay was
perfect
born and bred to direct
an action Transformers movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So like I think that was my main beef. Right, was that like this one felt like it to me. This one felt like it was trying to walk the line too much between the heartfelt smaller story of what Bumblebee ended up being. Did you ever watch that one or no?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So like that one definitely had a lot of heart to it, and I think really good characters, and the bond between, I forget her name, but fucking Haley Steinfeld. Yeah, and Bumblebee.
That's her name. Haley Steinfeld.
That's her name, Haley. Was really good. I thought that the heart in that movie was really great, better than any of the other Transformers movies by far. But I have to admit that it didn't have the action that I would have wanted from something like the Michael Bay ones, but I was okay with it because it leaned heavier into the heart, right? This one, I think, just walked the line a little bit too much for me. I would have preferred if they like stayed in one camp or the other, because you do have the really cool big action set pieces from time to time, and you have some decent fights in there for sure. One really standout one, but then they also try to build up this core like duo / trio between what's his name's character.
Ron Perlman.
Yeah. No, fucking
Anthony Ramos's
Noah. Yeah, Noah. And Pete Davidson's character of Mirage. And then to a certain extent like his little brother.
Yeah.
Which was like cute, but like a waste of time, honestly.
I enjoyed it.
It was good. It was cute. Like the heart was there. There just wasn't enough of either thing for me. Like I wish they would have leaned in.
This is so funny cuz like our reviews for this movie and the next movie are literally going to be like the reverse of each other.
The reverse Flash, would you say?
It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah, I just wanted it to like pick a lane because the other thing too is like they had a lot of exposition to deliver because they dropped in not only a whole new section of good guy Transformers, but a whole new section of bad guy Transformers too. So I feel like a lot of the movie is them just standing around and talking about the past, which is cool if you include flashbacks of them beating the shit out of each other.
Which is also the future.
Yeah, like what the fuck was that with the Maximals? They're like, we are both here from both your past and your present and your future.
Well, because like,
what the fuck?
Well, the whole thing with them is they come from the future, and we missed like the first 10 minutes of the movie, granted. So it did like explain this part of it.
That they're from the future?
Yeah, so like they're from the future. And their basically war like went to shit, right? Or not went to shit, but it played out like where they're at in the Transformers timeline. The war and stuff did not play out for the Decepticons like they wanted it to. So like their whole thing was to go back in the Predacons were gonna go back in time.
Oh, the Terracons.
The Terracons.
Yeah.
Wait, was it the Terracons or the Predacons?
The Terracons are the ones that we see in the movie. I'm not sure if there was different ones presented in the beginning.
So well. From like the lore from like the animated show and stuff, right? They're called the Predacons. So they come back and they want to alter the way the war went and help like the Decepticons win. So like the whole premise of like the beginning of the movie was kind of like that. They were gonna go fucking the Maximals were getting fucked up, and they were just gonna go back in time and shit like that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's basically we missed them going back in time. So they're from the future, but they went back in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that would have made it a little bit easier, but even still, like I don't know. These movies just have like there's what I loved so much about the old movies, because I do have a special place in my heart for them. I used to fucking adore. It's the only car movies that I will watch. I don't like cars, but I like cars that can transform into kick-ass robots.
I love that. After I forget what movie.
I think it was Spider-Verse. We were sitting there,
and you were just like, "I don't like car movies." I was like,
"We're gonna go watch Transformers."
Yeah, I was like, "You like Transformers?" And you're like, "Well, they're not cars." I was like,
"They're technically aliens," but we won't get into it right now.
They turned into cars.
But they didn't. Never mind. We won't get into it right now. We won't get into it right now. But
they always turned into cars.
But the thing that I love so much about the old movies is like, yeah, I had to sit through boring exposition of like, what the fuck is the Allspark? And like, why is Sam Witwicky and his family so special to them and everything? But I got goofy ass fucking Shia LaBeouf the entire time, being just a wacko of like shenanigans.
You got John Turturro in there.
John Turturro as well. Same thing, just being like just a parody of like a FBI agent trying to like be dope or whatever, right? And then when it's not those guys on screen, it's just robots beating the fucking shit out of each other with giant explosions happening everywhere and stuff like that. And like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm sure there were more, but there's only 2 fight scenes that are like really sticking out in my memory. And that's the first one where they are trying to get the first half of the key in like the museum. And then the last one when they fight each other in like the big battle at the end. And I think there's like a skirmish in the middle when they're in the jungle still.
There's like a car chase scene one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Which I think could have gone on. If Michael Bay was filming that shit would have gone on way longer. Like the car chase. Yeah,
they're just like, I don't know. Like I think
it cut very short for sure.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's certain like standout moments to me from the other Transformers movies, right? Like fucking Optimus taking on like literally the entire fucking Decepticon army in the second one, and then fucking dying in the end, which is like whatever, right? They have like fucking Optimus chopping off like 5 heads in a row with his giant sword in like the Mark Wahlberg ones and stuff like that, right? Like standout moments. Like I don't know that like these action pieces hit as strongly for me as those other ones do, which could just be a bias thing, right? Like when I see robots punching each other, I just want to see Michael Bay doing it. That's all. Or whoever directed Pacific Rim. That's good too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think definitely like the action wasn't my favorite. It was still serviceable to me because I think like the fights that we got like at the end were awesome.
Yeah, the Bumblebee one's awesome.
The Bumblebee one's fucking sick. I do like the one between Optimus and Scourge at the end. Like I do love like the Mortal Kombat finisher.
Oh yeah.
That shit was pretty fucking sick.
Yeah. What'd you think of Anthony Ramos's mini Power Ranger suit thing?
It was cool. Like I wasn't the most upset at it.
Oh, I thought he looked so dumb.
It does look cheesy for sure.
Yeah.
Like there are points where he's like his head just looks like it's floating in the thing, you know.
It's CGI'd as fuck.
Yeah,
for sure,
but I thought there were moments when it was fucking pretty sick. Like when he's fucking running with Optimus, I thought that shit was fucking sick. When he fucking has his fucking swords and he's just doing that shit.
Yeah,
that was pretty fucking cool. I didn't want to see Mirage like fight more because honestly, I really liked Pete Davidson.
He was
as
good.
Mirage.
He was my favorite Transformer in the movie.
He was really fucking great. I was really worried about how he was going to portray a Transformer because there's a certain thing I have with big name celebrities doing just like voiceover like parts, right? Like
you can recognize him too much.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's literally just for like, oh, we're just gonna get Pete Davidson because it's noticeable.
It's a big
Davidson.
name. Yeah,
it's a big name, and he's just gonna, it's gonna attract people to the movie, right?
Yeah.
But I think he did really fucking well. I liked sort of like the goofy quirkiness that Mirage had, like his little fucking jokes and shit.
Yeah, yeah, he's funny.
Like it fit his character really well. Like I personally didn't know Mirage. Don't remember him too much from like
other Transformers media,
the shows or anything like that. So I didn't really know how he was going to act, right? And there is also a certain thing. There's a sort of wariness going into a Transformers movie when you feel like you're getting like a new Bumblebee, right? Like you feel like someone's going to take that place of Bumblebee because Bumblebee, let's be honest, is probably the fucking
In terms of movies and what we've been presented in the last 15 to 20 years of Transformers media, he's for sure the most popular.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. Bumblebee is the most popular Transformer.
Exactly. So it's hard when it's like, all right, someone's obviously going to be filling that role.
Yeah,
of
like the
Bumblebee.
human connection.
Yeah,
Like,
the human to Transformer connection.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fucking awesome. I
Yeah,
thought
they
it was
did
fucking
good.
great. The car chasing at the beginning was freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked their interactions that they had. I liked the way Mirage talked to Optimus.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the grizzled fucking Optimus that didn't trust humans yet.
That was good.
Because it's always like we get Optimus when he's like, we got to protect the humans.
Yeah.
You know, humans are awesome.
Yeah,
and humans
yeah.
are great.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
We are way better than humans, but humans are awesome.
Yeah.
And we have to protect them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
it was nice seeing him be like, no, fuck these
Human,
motherfuckers.
like, I'm
yeah.
here to protect my own,
yeah,
goddammit.
these
Yeah.
people fucking suck.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good.
So it was pretty cool. I did enjoy seeing fucking. I thought Ron Perlman was a great Optimus Primal. Honestly, like,
Okay, see, so that was the thing that I was disappointed in because I don't know who the fuck did the audio warping of the Transformers voice, but whoever was in charge of doing it for Ron Perlman did it way too much, in my opinion. Because Pete Davidson is very clearly Pete Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the fucking Terracon, the main Terracon the entire time was Ron Perlman. And then I heard Optimus Primal talk, and I was like, oh, maybe that's Ron Perlman. And I was, but like when I saw them both on screen, I was like, either one of them could be Ron Perlman, honestly. Like, there's
Scourge
so.
was Peter Dinklage, bro.
Oh, okay. See, like that's what I'm saying. I could not tell. Like, there's a certain like level, I think, that of the original actor's voice that you need to like preserve. And I think this is like a perfect example of it right here, right? It's like me not knowing who was each cast member going into the movie, could not tell you the difference between them. They sounded exactly the same to me.
I thought they sounded different. Like I thought. See, okay, so I think it's different for me too because I knew like
Going
okay,
in.
Ron Perlman, Optimus Primal, Peter Dinklage playing Scourge. So I kind of heard those like, I heard like the hints of Peter Dinklage like in Scourge, but I also think like I agree, like you do want to hear the voice of the voice actor that's playing the character.
Yeah, why are you paying them so much money to do it if you're not going to retain some of their like natural like actorisms, you know?
But I think sometimes with like a villain, right? Like so I'll say like for Scourge, I think sometimes like I don't want to like if I know it's Peter Dinklage, sometimes I'm like I feel like I'd be like, "Oh, like I don't know, like Tyrion, I love Tyrion. I don't know if I could buy like him being a fucking
I could see him being a great bad guy.
Not that he isn't like he wouldn't be a great bad guy, but I think for the Transformers world,
Yeah.
when you add too much of like the human voice to it, I think it kind of can take you out a little bit.
Yeah, I just
You know?
whoever did the P. Davidson one, whoever did Mirage, hit it on the head, and I think that should be the example going forward because he doesn't sound exactly like Pete Davidson. You can tell there's still some Transformer gargliness in there that's like giving him a roboticness, but it's recognizable enough that you're like, oh, that's Pete Davidson right there. It doesn't get washed up in the Transformeriness.
Yeah, I think it's also just the character that like someone like a Ron Perlman is playing, right? Like I think you have to almost make it sound like the Optimus, like, and you have to make it sound like an off Optimus Prime almost because he is that like
He's
lineage.
literally even the character is literally an Optimus Prime fanboy. He's like, I was named after you, bro.
Yeah, and we also missed that part in the beginning because
Yeah.
in the beginning, like the actual main leader of the Maximals, like from the future. Like, he's going to go fight Scourge, and he knows he's going to fucking die. So he's like, hey, you're the leader.
Cool.
And your name is Optimus Primal. And
Dope.
they're like, fucking sick. And then they just go back
Like,
in time.
bye.
Yeah. And then the homie dies and fucking gets his shit taken. And then Scourge puts it on.
Oh, that was cool. That was a cool detail. I design-wise, I thought that the Primals or the Maximals looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't too disappointed with them.
I wanted to see more of Cheetor, bro. The fucking
That was-
Cheeto one. I wanted to see more of
Cheeto
him.
one?
Yeah.
That was the one I was gonna bring up. Is that like I never watched Beast Wars, which is like the animated show that had the Maximals in it and stuff like that. But as far as I know, they were all fully fleshed out characters. So
Yeah. For sure.
even not having an attachment to that, I found it pretty disappointing that like Cheetor has like one line and Rhinox doesn't talk at all.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a rhino.
I don't think he even says that. He says nothing, right?
just
Like
says,
Optimus Primal talks a lot. He's like a good character. Well, I won't say a good character because he's boring to me as well. All the Maximals are fucking boring. Like They look really cool, and when they're fighting, they're super cool. But Optimus Primal is just Optimus Prime, but he's a monkey.
Yeah, straight up.
That's it. There's no distinction whatsoever. He's just ape version of Optimus Prime. That is it.
Yeah.
What's her name? I'm fucking forgetting her name.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, what's her character's name? Oh, Airzor or Airazor.
Aries.
Airazor.
Airazor sounds better. Airazor just sounds funny.
Airazor was
Airazor.
cool. I wish they would have doubled down on the fact that she got infected, because it would have been cooler and more satisfying if they had to like really fight her, as opposed to she's like, oh, I'm infected, you have to kill me, and then Optimus Prime was like, okay, and then that's it, you know. But she was cool, she was fine. Again, I wish she had more lines. Like, it's basically just Optimus Primal the entire time. That's the only actual somewhat of a character that you get in terms of the Maximals, which, like, again, I was disappointed by, so I can only imagine people who are fans of like Beast Wars probably didn't like too much. Because, like, the movie based a lot of their... I mean, for God's sake, it's called Rise of the Beasts. Yeah. And they're not really even in it.
Yeah,
it's mostly really just Transformers much. Still, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, coming out of it, like, as much as I really enjoyed the movie, first off. Like, I had a lot of fun. Transformers movies, again, like, as long as you give me some fighting Transformers, the story doesn't have to be pretty crazy. Give me some nice visuals. You know, Optimus Prime just has to, you know, give me a good speech here and there. Like... And I'm here for it. And that's, you know, pretty much what this movie gave me. But yeah, the Maximals, I for sure needed to see more of them. Yeah. Cheetor looked like he was kicking some fucking ass. Like, in the fucking
Give me a whole movie with just them.
He had his fucking staff and he was kicking ass, and we barely got to see him. And I was like, fuck, dude, he looks like he's going crazy.
He just like...
Michael Bay would have had a field day.
Oh, yeah. He like God. Fucking... They only use him for like a literally like pissing yourself joke. And that's it. Like, he scares Mirage and he like leaks on himself and he's like, sorry for scaring you, bro. And that's it. That's all he says.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean... Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'm a big Anthony Ramos fan, so I enjoyed him in the movie. I thought some parts were kind of like...
I thought he was cheesy.
You know? But it's just that, like, it is that just, I think, Transformers cheese that we've gotten, like... Yeah. You know, like...
Well, I think what it really is for me is it's like... I liked the direction they had started to take with Bumblebee. And this is for sure a 180 back to how they were trying to do stuff before. And I just think it doesn't do it as well as the original ones did. So that's why it was kind of like a disappointment for me. It didn't really bring anything new to the table.
I feel you. Yeah, I can. I see that for sure. What was I gonna say?
Anthony Ramos?
Anthony Ramos, yeah. I mean, I was down for Anthony Ramos. His brother was was pretty fucking hilarious. I'm sad that we missed like the beginning of the movie because they probably had some kind
of interaction, yeah.
Interaction, yeah. But you know, I like their little code-names.
That was cute.
Tails.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was fucking funny.
I was laughing to myself because like I was. It's like the end of the movie, I think, when Mirage is like taking all the bullets for fucking Noah, right? And he's like fucking Sonic. And I was like, there's no fucking way that shitty little walkie-talkie is reaching across the world right now, bro.
But he has the Autobot technology.
I know, it's planted in there and stuff.
Bro,
I know. But I was like, wow, they are really going to go for the little... I don't know. Like, this is where you just have to turn your brain off because it's plot... Not even plot armor, like plot superpowers all of a sudden, right? But like, the entire movie... Fucking Terracon Prime. What the fuck is his name? Scourge.
Scourge, yeah.
Has no problem handling every single one of those Transformers on his own, right? But then all of a sudden he can take Optimus Prime and a little mini toy version guy. Like, I was just like, all right, whatever. That's fine. I get it. He's the main character. He's the human. So, of course, he's going to beat the shit out of the bad guy.
Optimus was playing. In the beginning, he was just playing around. Like, the end is when Optimus Prime was like, oh, okay, I have to fight now?
See, but that's what I like. I would have preferred... That's a cool idea. I like that, right? And like, I'm just fantasizing about what I would have wanted out of this movie at this point, but it's fucking called Transformers, not Transformers and Human Sidekick Boy. So like, give me an actual villain that Optimus can't take on his own. So he has to actually team up with all of them to fight the one guy. Like, make it so that it takes Optimus, Bumblebee, Mirage, and I'm forgetting her name, but the motorcycle girl. And they all have to beat the shit out of him together. Is that really her name?
Yeah, I think it was.
That's a lame name, too. But yeah, like, so that they all have to team up to take him down at once, you know? Like, I'm down with that. If there's a character, if there's a bad Decepticon, Terracon, whatever you call him, that's too much for Optimus to handle, I just think it's silly that the thing that pushes him over the edge and being able to handle that is a human in a little mini Transformer suit.
Yeah.
I don't like that part.
I think
That part,
that's
I was
just-
literally like, I rolled my eyes when that shit happened. I was like, okay, the movie lost me now.
I also think like that's most of like the Transformers movies is he has a tough time fucking beating the last dude.
Yeah, that part.
Like he doesn't beat Megatron in the first one. If it's not for Sam, that's just like, oh, I'm gonna overload you with the fucking All-Spark.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, and like maybe I'm like being a little too picky and choosy here, but that makes more sense to me because that's like a nuke going into your chest as opposed to like the main hero character just getting superpowers and being able to like literally fight a fucking Decepticon.
Yeah, but then you have like in the Dark of the Moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is getting his ass handed to him. He has his arm ripped off, and then Megatron has to save him, right?
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh yeah, Megatron, I'm just gonna beat you with one arm. And he just fucking beats him with one arm, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So you're just like, where'd that come from? Like you couldn't take this dude on
Beforehand,
right?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, you could just take on Megatron with one arm. So
Like
it's
that, yeah.
Optimus has that main character plot armor where
Mm-hmm.
in the last 5 minutes he gets a Zenkai boost and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just like,
That part I'm cool
I'm
with.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
That part I'm cool with. That's what Transformers I like. The plot armor I was complaining about is Anthony Ramos.
Yeah.
That was too much for me. Like that really took me out of that whole scene at the end where I was like, Jesus Christ, I do not like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was fine with it because I'm like, okay, you have the Transformer tech that's obviously like helping you out.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't too upset at it, and it was just like, it was like a mini Transformer just like being around there and like, okay, I'm gonna help you out, Optimus.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think it's
So-
for sure when Diggs pointed it out afterwards, because like again, big time spoilers for the movie we've been spoiling, but in an end credit scene, we come to realize, which is honestly the coolest part about the movie for me, is like this little one-off thing, right? Is that like he gets cornered in an office and like starts getting interrogated by this FBI dude who like knows everything that happened over the course of the movie, and he thought he was just getting interviewed for like a regular job. And then he hands him a card and he's like, if you ever need us, we'd love to have you on your team. And me, with all the other Transformers movies knowledge in my head, I'm like, oh, this is Nest. This is the fucking
The Sector 7.
yeah,
shit.
the
that's
secret
what I thought it
organization,
was.
right? And he flips the fucking card around and it says fucking G.I. Joe, bro. And I was like, holy shit. Okay,
That
that's
was
fucking
crazy.
cool.
That was crazy.
That's cool. So like, I guess if they tie that thread of that suit that he got into, made out of the Transformers one, turning into the inspiration or the basis of the technology for the suits that they have in like the Channing Tatum and I forget which Wayne's brother it is, but I'm pretty sure it's one of them. In the original movie,
I think it's Marlon
Wayans?
Posible.
and in the original 2000s GI Joe movie, the live action one, they have suits.
That one's pretty solid. I fuck with that.
It's
movie.
not bad. I don't
Yeah.
hate it. Yeah, they have suits that are very similar to what Anthony Ramos is wearing at the end of the movie. So if they tie that through line, I'll be like, okay, cool, whatever. I guess that's fine. But it really genuinely just like annoyed me. I was like, this is stupid and I don't like this.
Dude, that was probably one of the most surprising end credit scenes I've seen like in a minute.
Yeah.
Because I was not expecting it, and it for sure threw me for a loop because I didn't know until after I did like a little research that the Transformers and the fucking G.I. Joe crossed over in the comics. Like,
Yeah.
when they do the reveal, I'm like, oh, like Hasbro. Okay, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it makes sense.
Parent toy company.
Yeah. But I was like, holy fuck. Like, I was so fucking surprised. Like you, I thought it was like the Nest Sector 7
Yeah.
type fucking shit.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
This is fucking great. Cause
Tie
you're
up the old movies.
yeah,
and
you're
the
tying
new
up the
ones.
old movies. You're, setting up, you're giving more backstory. You're giving more detail to the world that you're setting up now,
Yeah.
right? We never knew where Nest or Sector 7 came from. They kind of were always just there. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. Like we're getting a little origin story, or like we're going to see how they're starting
How
to
they
grow,
came about
right?
and shit, yeah.
And no, they said, hey, next movie is going to be with Channing Tatum. And no, probably not with Channing Tatum. But,
No, I mean, I'd be down if he comes back and he's there. That'd be cool, but
yeah.
probably
But
not.
that was pretty cool. The music in this movie was pretty fucking solid too.
Yeah, some of the needle drops were good.
I was down for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
My favorite one was for sure the "Don't Call It a
Yeah,
Comeback."
that's
The fucking
that's
LL
for
Cool
sure
J
the
one.
coolest fight in the movie when fucking
Bumblebee comes back.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's another thing too. Why does every Transformers have an obsession with killing either Optimus Prime or Bumblebee?
because you need that. Because they're the emotional anchor to the entire series. It's either you're gonna kill off either Optimus or Bumblebee to kind of get that like holy shit.
But
Stakes
it doesn't.
are high.
But they're not anymore though, because you know every single time that they die, you're like, oh, he's gonna come back by the end of the movie. It's fine.
But I think it's
Like,
I think it's just to show that our main villain is like this is a serious dude. Right
Yeah,
here.
I mean,
Right?
I understand it in practice, but all I'm saying is like with the history of it at this point, I don't think it does what they intend for it to do, because like it's just telegraphing your moves right up front, right? Like if you kill off your most popular character in the first 10 minutes of the movie, or what, like maybe 30 minutes of the movie, probably. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, he's going to come back and they're all going to kick the bad guy's ass in the end. Like, which maybe you're expecting anyways, but like, I don't know. I'm tired of that trope at this point now, especially with these Transformers movies, because it's always like halfway through, it's like, oh no, we lost our most powerful or lovable person. Whatever's going to happen. And it's
He's gonna come back.
Yeah, every time, which like, honestly, I genuinely thought somebody was like in the writer's room and they're like, yo, wouldn't it be really cool if Bumblebee like got to kick some ass to don't call it a comeback? And they're like, yeah, but like he has to come back somehow if we're going to do that. And they're like, well, why don't we just kill him at the beginning and then we'll make him come back and then we can do it with the song. And they're like, yeah, that works.
So just sitting there like, oh, guys.
Yeah.
I got
a dope idea. You guys heard this song before? It's like, picture it.
Yeah, I feel you, because I was definitely like, oh my god, he got killed.
It
And then
doesn't
I was
matter
literally like
anymore.
piecing it together like, wait, like there's no way this dude's like just gonna die.
No, it doesn't matter. Like the first time when Optimus got stabbed through the fucking chest and his heart literally exploded in Revenge of the Fallen. When you're watching that, maybe just because we were kids, but like if you're watching those series for the first time, you're like, oh fuck, they just fucking Optimus Prime. Like, holy shit. Of course, he does get revived by the end of the movie. I think that one is satisfying because it's the first time they ever did it, so it's not tainted yet. But then every other time after that, when Optimus dies or Bumblebee dies or one of the other Transformers who's like a main character dies, same thing with Mirage, right? Like they do all these fake outs and they don't really matter because it's like, oh, you could just rebuild them. They're just robots. Like it doesn't matter if they die or not because they just need to be supercharged by some Cybertron juice and they're good to go.
Yeah, those deaths really don't hold a lot of weight because they're just gonna get.
They're gonna
revived
come back, yeah.
But yeah, I think it is mainly for like the kid audience, right? I don't think
Yeah.
they're in the writers' room thinking like, oh, these 25-year-olds, man, we're gonna get those motherfuckers.
It
dude.
definitely-
we're gonna get these guys.
It definitely, I will say, it really did feel like it was written. I'm not gonna say for kids. It felt like it was written by kids. To me personally. But I don't think that was their intention.
I think a Transformers movie is always going to be geared towards a younger audience for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's why for me, like, I'm never going into like, oh my god, this story is going to be like this most groundbreaking fucking story ever. Like, oh my god, this is going to be the best film in the past 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking fighting robots. Like, I don't expect too much. Out of it.
That's why I was bummed. Is it's like when I go to watch a movie about fighting robots, I expect to see robots fighting,
Yeah.
and they fucking did it in this movie, bro. So I was like, no, didn't hit the head for me.
Yeah, they didn't fight too. They didn't fight too much. And when they did, like, their fights were short. I thought it was so funny, like. The first fight, when you saw like Bumblebee like running and like shooting, he looked so funny because he's just running hella slow. He's like, choo, 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 choo.
Yeah, dude. Like I was just like, yo, bring back the firework explosions and like buildings crumbling and fuck it. I don't care if you put the U.S. military in there again. That's fine. Just make them blow shit up. Like there wasn't enough action in it for me this time around.
I feel that. The action was definitely far and few,
and it's pretty long. I will say. Like I don't know what the length is of the other one is, but I'm surprised that has a 2-hour runtime.
Yeah, it really didn't need a 2-hour. I felt bad for fucking Dominique Fishback who played Elena because like
joke character, man.
She was literally just the character that's there to just explain shit.
Yeah, she's just and
like,
she just does it in jokes too.
Yeah.
Like it's always like, oh no, I'm about to fall, and then it's like, oh, I just saved the universe, and then she's like, I'm never leaving Brooklyn again. It's like I'm like, oh god, I don't like it. I don't want it.
Yeah, those are the ones like I like that I couldn't do. The fucking just the Brooklyn like they're like, oh my, you're from Brooklyn, like
yeah,
shit. Like, like dude, New York people do that shit all the time. Like I have to know, like are New York people like, oh my god, like I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah,
You're from the Bronx,
maybe
I'm from the Bronx.
maybe they do. I don't know. I can't be the judge of that. We're West Coast kids, obviously, but like
I'm never like, oh my god, you live near San Jose?
I live near San Jose. Yeah. I mean, I will say I think it's different because like all of the boroughs in New York are obviously like, I think culturally different. And they all have like heavy backgrounds for sure. That part I do understand, but it doesn't change the fact that like it's a super cheesy way for them to what is essentially do like just hollow misrepresentation, right?
Yeah.
Like they were trying to go for representation for that. It wasn't like a funny and not like representative of New York, right? It was of like some kind of Latino culture and some kind of black culture. And they had these two people like, you know, be like, oh, we're cool. Look, we do dope handshakes together. We're so cultural and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just empty. It doesn't mean anything. There's no actual like reference to their backgrounds other than like, we're these people. Look at us.
Yeah, she was literally just like a plot device the whole time. I'm like, man, I don't know where the second half of this fucking key is at. She's like, oh my god, I was reading this book.
I do.
And like, I just so happen to know where the fucking key, the other
yeah.
half of the key's at. Like, it's probably here. We should go there.
That's the reason why, I don't know. Maybe like, I'm not trying to like overly analyze or anything, but that's why I didn't give a shit so much in the first movies because like Sam Witwicky is literally like a magical character who has like a family connection to like Transformers history, right? Mm-hmm. Like if he figures something out, it doesn't make sense, but there's at least groundwork laid for it because you know his great-great-grandfather like fucked around with the Transformers in the old days, right? Mm-hmm. Versus like in this new one, they just present these new characters and they're like, oh yeah, she knows everything just because she unlocked a statue by accident one time. Yeah. And she knows the whole plot and it's totally fine. Or like Anthony Ramos is just like, no, it's super cool. Don't worry about it. He was in the military, so he could totally beat the shit out of a Transformer if he had the suit. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there are things when you think about it too hard.
I just don't want human characters. I think is really what it is. Like at this point, I think with all of I understood it back in the early 2000s because we didn't have things like a giant purple alien invading Earth for some fucking colorful rocks, right? We didn't have the multiverse. We didn't have all these crazy, wild fucking things in popular television and movies that we do now. So I get needing to ground the story with humans to a certain extent. But at this point where we are, I think the world is ready for a Transformers movie that is just about the Transformers. And that's what I want to see.
Because I think even when you go back to the most popular like animated cartoons, like it's literally just the Transformers dealing with the Transformers.
Yeah. There's humans really in them, if I'm not mistaken, but they don't do shit. They're not like main characters that change the plot. Like you brought it up with the whole Optimus thing, right? Like they could have made this whole movie just about Optimus learning how to deal with humans, but make Optimus the main character. Like, don't make the human the main character. You know what I mean? Like that's a compelling storyline. I think that's a compelling character arc of like this dude that you know as like champion of the humans is like, nah, fuck those guys, bro. I don't fuck with them. It's like, okay, how did he become that? Like,
yeah, you heard of those humans? Yeah, I don't fuck with those motherfuckers over there. Mm-hmm. I don't like them.
Yeah.
Did you want another sippity do?
Yes, please. Can I want to try that watermelon one now.
The watermelon?
Yeah. I'm a Sandia fan, bro. I am a fan of the melon of the water. Melon water. Watermelon.
Oh, I'm going to try the watermelon with you.
Hell yeah. Thank you, sir. There's a hella random. I just like this for some reason, but in The Legend of Zelda, there's these very watermelon-looking fruits that grow in the desert. Cheers. Cheers, brother. But they call them hydromelons.
Oh.
I like that word.
That's so funny.
Hydromelons.
Yeah. Because hydro is basically just a reference to like water.
Yeah. It's a watermelon. It looks exactly like it, but it's a hydromelon.
They're in the writer's room. They're like, all right, fellas, we need a different word for a watermelon.
Yeah.
It looks like a watermelon, but we need a different word.
Yeah.
How about hydromelon?
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it. That's perfect. Somebody else like, oh, liquid melon? Shut up, Larry. We're going with hydromelon.
But yeah, Transformers Rise of the Beast, what would you rate that movie?
Honestly, I think this is going to be the lowest rating I've ever given on a movie on the podcast, but it's like a 5. I don't think a 5 is like a terrible rating because that's still in the midway point, but it didn't do anything to super impress me. It didn't do anything to super disappoint me. So it's just like a 5, maybe a 6 if I'm like drunk and high while I'm watching it, but otherwise it's like a 5.
Yeah. I'll say I'm honestly gonna give it like a 7. Like it's
Okay.
not bad. I don't think it's bad by any stretch. Of, like, again, if you analyze it too much, probably a pretty bad movie. But again, like, it gives me the basics of what I want from a Transformers movie. You got some fucking Autobots. You got some Decepticon type motherfuckers.
Terracons.
They're fighting each other. There's some Transformer shit that's going on in the middle, and I'm cool with it. I'm down. Were the weak parts of the movie? Yeah, for sure. I don't think any Transformers movie is great by any stretch of the imagination, except for maybe the very first Michael Bay one. I think the first one is
It's pretty good.
pretty solid fucking movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any movie, like, again, I don't think anytime anyone was going to watch any of the Transformers movies in theaters, they're like, wow, I'm going to see a groundbreaking film right now.
No, yeah, I don't
It was
think
just
so
like,
either.
You know, I'm going to see a good action movie. And I think that's what this is. It's a pretty good action movie. So,
We were talking about it when we were doing like the Spider-Man ranking and stuff like that, but like lately I've just been going off of like what keeps me engaged and what makes me feel excited or happy or sad or fun or this or that or whatever. And like, I don't know, this movie was just boring to me. I thought it was a little boring. It wasn't very engaging. I don't need it to be super groundbreaking. I don't need it to be a great story or anything like that, but I do at the very least need it to like not have me checking my watch, which I was doing. I was like, damn, how long have we been in this movie for?
I feel you.
Yeah.
But all right, now to move on to
The most controversial superhero movie of all time, arguably.
The Flash.
The Flash.
The Flash. But yes, The Flash, just for a little description, worlds collide when the Flash uses his superpowers to travel back in time to change the events of the past. However, when his attempts to save his family inadvertently alters the future, he becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned, threatening annihilation. With no other superheroes to turn to, the Flash looks to coax a very different Batman out of retirement and rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian, albeit not the one he's looking for.
That's like honestly, that's a weirdly spoilery description.
Yeah.
Like that just tells you.
Well, I mean,
there's no specifics there, but
the trailer, if you watch the trailer,
that's true.
you know what the
They
fuck's
spoil it.
going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, no, for sure.
And I was thinking about this today, right? Like, I think if the stuff with Ezra Miller doesn't happen, I think the trailers that we get are very different for the movie. Like, I don't think they give away Michael Keaton too much in the trailers.
Maybe.
You know, not that. I mean, I don't.
If this was
I'm
Marvel,
trying-
I would agree with you. But I don't think Warner Brothers and DC is going to hold back on that type of shit just because of what happened with the actor. I think they're bad in general at being like, here's our fucking movie, please come watch it. I know we're like not as good as Marvel, but please come check it out. I think that's just the studio.
I see that. I think just like with
But I do hear what you're saying.
With Michael Keaton coming back, that is such a like holy fuck moment where if you keep that under wraps and you don't say anything, like when you go and watch that movie, like you probably would have tripped the fuck out if you wouldn't have known Michael Keaton was going to be in this movie as Batman.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool.
You would have lost your shit.
You would have, but like at the same time, like it's about like okay, it's like the Spider-Man thing, right? Like even if you don't put it in the trailer specifically, you know what's gonna happen. Like there's no way you can hide that information in today's day and age. It's just not possible. That would have leaked. That would have been told to you directly by the director, which happened. I haven't looked into it, but apparently he spoiled something like a week before the movie came out on a red carpet and shit like that. So like I think at this point, as unfortunate as it is very difficult to go in blind on stuff unless you decide to stay completely off the internet. Like I don't know that the reaction that I had to it would have been different had they not included him in the trailers. Because again, I probably would have read an article or seen a video somewhere with somebody saying like, hey, Michael Keaton Batman is probably coming back in this movie, you know? I could be wrong, but I just feel like that's where we are nowadays. Like it's really hard to hide stuff like that. So just putting in the trailer, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You're going to show me it. That's cool.
I think it is hard to hide stuff like that for sure, but I think when big studios like that want to hide something like that, I think they'll keep it under wraps for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like I think they have the ability to attempt to do that. But again, like things just circulate so crazily nowadays, like there's never not a leak on something. And at the same time, too, I don't believe that shit just happens either. I think that's studio leaks on purpose. Like, they have somebody in their lower ranks and they probably have monitors on all of their shit and can check whatever they're doing and stuff like that. And then somebody's like, hey, we got a ping. Like, this person might be leaking this. And they're like, that's fine. Just get him in trouble for it and wrap it up afterwards. But that's cool.
Well, yeah, because there is a notorious leaker on Twitter and very
like super famous, right?
Yeah, My Time to Shine. Hello. They get a lot of stuff
called
right.
everything. Like in the last
very
10
much,
years of movies.
Like honestly, all the cameos they had leaked all the cameos
ahead of time.
So I had seen them, so I wasn't like surprised by all the cameos.
Yeah.
But I wanted to feel more with all the cameos, and I didn't feel as much as I feel like I should have felt. All the cameos, but we'll get to that when we talk.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I saw recently that it's either Kevin Feige's main account or Kevin Feige's burner account on Twitter that actually follows them. So Kevin Feige knows what goes
who the
down
person is.
In terms of like, oh, okay, this person, like, let me keep up with.
They leak. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's all controlled to a certain extent, right? So like, again, it's just part of the new hype train of things, right? Like. That's just how these superhero and big budget blockbuster sci-fi things work, where if it's a known property that has some kind of source material, like a lot of these comic book and superhero movies do, there is bound to be some level of hype that comes from just leaking tiny bits of information. Like, hey, we might have an older Batman coming back. Like, oh shit, that's probably gonna be Michael Keaton or whatever. Or they just straight up show you him, right? Like that builds a lot. It's just where we are now, you know? It's unfortunate, but it's the age that we live in.
But what did you think about the Flash? What were your thoughts on it?
I think it didn't live up to all of the expectations that everybody was talking about beforehand, but it did exceed my own personal expectations. I think that it is its grounds. I think it had the potential to be one of the best superhero movies, for sure. I for sure could have seen it being one of the best, very, very close to doing that. But I don't think it quite hits it because it feels the need to go into the typical high stakes multiverse, everything exists everywhere all at once type of thing. It lost like I think the reason why this movie is as good as it is because of the personal story that Barry Allen goes through with his mom. I think it's a pretty emotional movie, surprisingly. I think as unfortunate as all of the surrounding controversy around Ezra Miller is, I think they did a really good job in this movie. I don't think there's any dispute that the performance that they put on screen is good. It's just, again, the age-old question of how comfortable are you personally with separating the art from the artist. But I think that until the last, 30 minutes of the movie, probably the best DC movie. Pretty inarguably to me, with maybe the exception of, the Suicide Squad. But other than that, I don't think Justice League, Zack Snyder version, or the regular one, I don't think Man of Steel comes close to this. I don't think Batman vs. Superman comes close to this. I think this is for sure the best one, with, again, the exception of the last 30 minutes. And not because it's, bad necessarily, because I was excited by the things that I saw. I think it was just, a pretty hard 180 from what the rest of the movie was. So it kind of lost me in that sense. But other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, it exceeded my personal expectations, and I was pretty hyped for the movie. So I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised by how it came out.
Nice. All right, and going on to me.
Yeah.
It's funny because I have had people ask me about how I liked the movie in the past few days, right? I had Devin was like, oh, you saw The Flash, he's like, did you go see The Flash? And I was like, yeah. It was, it was a cool movie. I would say I always preface it with I had fun, right? And I think that's the most important thing when going to watch a superhero action movie is, by the end of it, did you have fun?
Yeah, you need to be engaged.
And yeah, I did. I thought there were a lot of good things in this movie. Am I the biggest on Ezra Miller's portrayal of Barry Allen? Honestly, not really. I don't think he does the best Barry Allen, just because I think he's a little too quirky and on that like socially awkward spectrum where I don't think like that really is like the character of Barry Allen. I think in the comics he is a very like mature person, and not that he isn't like quippy and throws jokes in here or there. Like he definitely does do that, but I think
he's not socially awkward. I don't know if he's necessarily mature, because I think Barry is definitely still kind of a goofball, but I will agree with you, he's not as socially awkward as this portrayal is, for sure.
Like he's definitely a goofball. He's definitely funny, but he's super smart and he knows how to like handle himself. And I think like, and I think it's just maybe my bias, like with, regardless of what you think about the CW Flash, right? Like I don't think like the later seasons are like great by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. But I think what Grant Gustin did with that character is really good. And I think he is probably the best portrayal of Barry Allen and the Flash that we've had. Regardless of like the writing with that show, I think one constant is Grant Gustin and how well he does as the Flash, right? And so while I am not necessarily the biggest fan of Ezra Miller's Flash, I do agree with you that I think they did a really good job at doing the two Barry Allens in this movie.
Oh, great.
Like,
that was really good.
And I think what made me like the performance of Barry Allen, I think a little bit more in this movie, is the fact that you have the younger one that is the
Justice League version.
Yeah, the way more like fucking like I'm like saying everything, like I'm super talkative, like I'm very out there, and like having the older Barry Allen like go through like the maturity of being like, hey dude, like shut the fuck up. And like, damn, is this what I'm like? You know, like I really liked that juxtaposition, and I liked seeing how much, you know, our Barry that we know from like past movies like changes throughout. Yeah. Because he has to go through and like mentor his younger version of himself, right? I thought Michael Keaton was fucking awesome, you know? Like I don't think there's any role that I don't like Michael Keaton in,
nah,
you know
really
what I'm saying?
Good.
So he knows, he's an actor and he knows how to act. I'll say that. Obviously I loved Batman 89 coming back. I loved seeing like the action with him because, you know, like back then we were very limited on what we could do action wise. And in this movie, he's kicking fucking ass,
hardcore,
bro, and
man.
It's fucking awesome to see him do it. Seeing backflip back, awesome, because really, you know, it's the last time we're gonna see him in the bat suit for sure. And it was, you know, very bittersweet because, you know, we see that action scene with him in the beginning when he's fucking doing the shit through like the freeway,
like just
and
everything
bridge.
He does in
like,
the beginning is awesome, dude.
I was like sitting there thinking like it's so crazy to me that this man like has given us like the best like Batman action that we've like seen, like the best like Batman type action, right? With the fucking fight in the warehouse with all those fucking goons, with that fucking scene on the bridge, seeing him fucking with his grappling gun, fucking doing shit like that. Like I was like, holy shit, this is shit I've wanted to see Batman do on a live action screen, and we're actually fucking getting it. And it's so crazy that, you know, not a lot of people like Ben Affleck Batman, but he's giving us some of the best Batman shit, you know? So I was like, damn, this is fucking awesome.
That's just like whoever coordinated the stunt work and the action set pieces for both this movie and Batman vs. Superman just needs to take notes for future Batman stuff. Because that's all it really is, right? Like, Ben Affleck's not actually there doing any of that stuff. He is the Batman who acts as him, but at the end of the day, it's on the writers and like the people creating these sequences to like put that stuff forward. He doesn't just need to like block and punch people all the time. You can have him be acrobatic and crazy and shit like that. It's cool.
Exactly. So I like seeing him. Obviously all the cameos were pretty cool. I do have a problem with a couple of them for sure, just because it goes back to the conversation of like AI, people's likeness, everything like that. So but I mean, I think there was a lot of things that I just didn't like with this movie. I think it is like a weird sort of pace, like in the middle. We go off from this like really hardcore, like pretty great action scene in the beginning to like a lot of dialogue and a lot of characters talking to each other and a lot of, oh, we're going to go find Batman. We're going to go see this. We're going to go see that. Like it kind of slows down in the middle, picks up a little bit, and then kind of has like a lackluster ending for sure. I just was like, there wasn't a lot of times in the movie where I was like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. Like it was cool. Like I thought the baby scene was pretty cool, but like, I didn't really like the CG in that scene at all. Like I didn't think it was too great,
yeah, that's what that was a big question that I had for you going in. So like, how much do you think, because we can be perfectly honest about it, I don't think anybody has any qualms about this. The CGI does not look the best in this movie in comparison to a lot of other things that are coming out right now. So like, how much of the enjoyment factor do you think you lost because of that? Because I know you do like good-looking graphics.
To me, it was a lot. Like, I don't like sitting there and being like, why does his face look fucked up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like there was a lot of times when it was older Barry and younger Barry side by side, and it was sometimes where I was like, damn, younger Barry's face just looks fucked up right now. Like, it just does not look good. And that kind of takes me out of it because, like, that's a big part of the movie. You being sucked in and feeling like there are two different Barrys going on right now. And when you can, at least for me, when you can visually see that, like, one's off, like, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. So some of the graphics honestly weren't my favorite. I know, like, fucking Andy Muschietti came out after the fact.
Yeah, it's the most clever excuse for bad CGI I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, it was mostly for, like, how things looked in, like, what was it, the Chrono Bowl?
The Chrono Bowl,
or whatever, which, again, I can see how that, like, if you go with that in mind, how it can work, right? But it just seems too much of, like, a cop-out for, like, oh, this shit just didn't look too well. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, I mean, the Chrono Bowl, I wasn't the biggest on it. You know, I thought it was definitely one of the more unique ways we've gotten to see, like, time travel and stuff, like, visually, like, shown to us, you know? Like, it's normally, like, fucking people, like, I mean, recently we just got to see, like, Spider-Verse, right? People traveling between worlds. He's just fucking jumping in from one portal to another. Yeah. You know, things like that we see on the CW Flash. He's like, he runs and he has to think about, like, a point in time, and he fucking just runs to there and shit like that. So I thought it was, like, you know, it's an A for effort. Like, you're going for something different, but it wasn't the best for me just because visually, like, I need to be visually sucked in. Like, I need to be, like, that's a big part of me, is, like, feeling like I'm visually there. And I think some of it just I wasn't down with. I did like seeing him slow down time. I liked seeing that shit. That was cool. But I couldn't help thinking about fucking what was it, X-Men Days of Future Past, and the scene we got with fucking Quicksilver.
Oh yeah,
like, so I just couldn't help but think about that.
So one thing, because I actually did want to bring that up as well. I think this is better, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
As iconic and as cool as the Quicksilver scenes are, they have no stakes whatsoever. Nothing matters in those.
Not even the second one when the school's blowing up?
No, because he's still just having fun. He's moonwalking everywhere and he's dancing all over the building. There's nothing in your mind when you're watching that where you think like, oh no, somebody might not make it out of this. Zero. There's not at least in my mind. I never ever think Quicksilver's not going to get everybody out of there. I was genuinely worried for those babies and the nurse and the dog. And I was like, oh, fuck, is he going to be able to pull this off? Like, that's the one thing I will commend them. Not the one thing, because I actually love that opening sequence. I think it is the best portrayal of a speedster's perspective when trying to save people. Because that's a fucking impossible task. It is really hard to figure out an effective way to show somebody who can move at the speed of light have a problem with saving people, right? But the fact that they were able to pull that off in this movie and actually make you feel like, oh, fuck, he might not save everybody right now. Like, what the fuck is he going to do? And then a clever way of doing it, which is like, oh, no, he just needs to eat more because, like, the more calories the Flash has, the faster he can move, and then he can slow down time even further. Like, I was like, fucking kudos, bro. That's way more creative than I've ever seen anybody be with a speedster.
I thought that was clever, too, but I'm sad that it didn't come back more in the movie. It was like, okay, this is just a big thing in the beginning, and, like, his calorie counter is just not a thing the rest of the movie.
Well, I mean,
like, there are parts where, like, you know, like, young Barry gets his powers and he, like, runs and he's like, oh my god, I'm so hungry. But there's never another part where he, like, looks at his calorie counter and it's like, holy shit, it's low. I need to find something to eat. Like, not one time in the fight scene at the end does his calorie counter get low and he's like, oh my god, I need to fucking eat something. It's just like, I just got the most amount of energy ever right now.
I think, to be fair, Barry doesn't have his powers again for the majority of the movie after that. And then he just got them fresh again. So, like, in my mind, I'm like, all right, he probably doesn't need to, like, juice up on a whole bunch of junk food before he goes in there or something like that.
But young Barry just got his powers and he fucking went for a run.
Yeah, but like you said, though, they do show the aftermath of like, okay, he needs to eat when he does that.
Yeah,
right?
But again, in the fight where I think he's doing a lot more than just running around fucking Central City. He is running around. He's fucking punching people. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's fighting. to me that takes up a lot more energy. So I would think in the fight he would, that's just it. Like I
It's
don't want it to,
semantics.
but it's just one of those things where you make it a big point in the beginning of the movie and it just doesn't come back.
I think it's obviously just a difference of opinion, but in my mind, it wouldn't be as impactful. I think it's more of like at that point, it would be more of like a callback of a continuity thing, and it wouldn't be as like impactful, like if like he's running around the battlefield and he's like punching people and he can't do it as fast or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, I need to eat, like I'm fucking hungry, like it just doesn't make sense in the final fight scene.
See, I would think it would make it more impactful because in the final fight scene, when you're just in a desert and his calorie counter is low, you're like, what the fuck is he gonna do? Like, where is he gonna get something to eat? Like, how is he gonna fucking do this? And maybe he has to like overcome that and just be like, fuck it, dude, I just gotta like push through this shit and do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think there are more clever ways to bring that back. And I'm not a fucking writer, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is what you fucking do.
Well, it's
But
just
I
the
think-
plot armor thing,
yeah,
right?
I
It's
think-
like how we were
yeah.
talking about with Optimus Prime
Yeah,
and Anthony
yeah,
Ramos. Like
exactly.
in the final fight scene, they have to be able to do more stuff than what they were able to do in the beginning, because
Yeah.
that's just how movies go.
But it's like that was something that was so cool because that is a big thing with the Flash, where his metabolism's super fast, so
Yeah.
he has to sit there and he has to fucking eat. It's like I thought that was so cool in the beginning, but you just didn't give it to me the rest of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big thing in the end. Like, not even with like, not when even when he's like training a younger version of himself, does he sit there and he's like, all right, dude, like you got to pay attention, you got to make yourself a fucking calorie counter because you're gonna be fucking running. Like, it's just kind of like a younger Barry's just like, oh my god, I'm so fucking hungry, and he's just like, oh yeah, that's what fucking happens.
Well,
like,
so the other thing too that I'll say, and this is a little bit of a gripe. Well, it's like a secondary gripe. Like it doesn't bother me about this movie, but it's just like a what could have been, what I wish would have happened. It's like this movie should be called The Flash and the Multiversal like Justice League, honestly, because Flash is the main character, but he shares screen time with a lot of other superheroes. And so I think in a purely Flash movie where it is just him and even younger him, there's time for that, right? But when you need to fit in Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot in the beginning, when you need to fit in Michael Keaton for a good chunk of the movie and try to give him a lackluster character arc in my mind, and you need to fit in Sasha Calle, or Kaye, however you say it, as Supergirl for me was kind of wasted, but it's whatever. It is what it is. Then I think there are just certain things that, because I agree with you, that would have been cool to see more in-depth training of him being like, fuck, I don't have my powers anymore. I need to show you how to do this. But the movie just doesn't have time for that because it already is super long. It's like
there is
2 hours and
apparently
25
a 4-hour
minutes.
cut of this movie.
I could super imagine that. And I bet you that has a lot more in-depth stuff of like what we're asking for, of like more Barry on Barry or just Flash stuff in general. Because it's Flashpoint. Like, not as well done, and they definitely changed some things, but it's essentially Flashpoint.
See, that's another one of my big problems with the movie is they generally wasted a insanely great story. Like, one of the best stories out of like DC is Flashpoint. Just because of how, like, just at the point, just how dark it was, just how different it was from like the general DC shit that was going on, and how much it switched up the landscape of DC, and like just how much of like a what the fuck and like wow factor there was out of that story. Like Barry just like wakes up and they're talking about like, oh, Citizen Cold, and he's like, don't you mean Captain Cold? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, okay. And he noticed he doesn't have his flash ring on. He's like, what the fuck? And then he goes and he trips and he walks outside and his mom's there, and he's like trying to figure out the whole movie, like what the fuck is going on. And he sees flashes of Reverse Flash like here and there, so he's like, oh my god, it's Reverse Flash. And he goes to find Batman, and then Batman's fucking Thomas Wayne, he's not Bruce Wayne, and you're like, what the fuck? Like there's so much of that story that I feel like they wasted in this because they used the big part of the story, which is Barry going back in time to save his mom, and then everything being changed. Like,
I mean, you also, because I do hear what you're saying, right? But like, I think that the story in spirit is preserved because it hits pretty much all the same beats. Zod serves as the exact same fucking thing as Diana and Aquaman. It's not the same characters, but what the fuck do Diana and Aquaman do other than fight each other and destroy the world? There's no deep character work that happens there aside from the fact that they cheat on each other's like partners, and then that's it.
But I think it's also the fact. Well, I think also what comes with Flashpoint is the history of all these characters, right?
Yeah, you need
Like,
to have a built-up universe,
and that's why I think they
Yeah.
did it at the wrong time. Is because you have just so much just random shit in the DCU that is canon, is not canon. Like, you know, we have all this shit from like the Justice League.
Yeah.
That's like canon, right, quote unquote. And then we have all the shit from Zack Snyder's Justice League that's not canon, quote unquote, because it's, you know. So it's like there's so much shit that's not a cohesive history that I don't think this, like I don't think the shell of the story should have been Flashpoint. Should have been something way different, because I think Flashpoint works so much better when you have this big history of characters built up. When you have like the history with Aquaman, when you have the history with the whole Justice League just being together, and then you get to a story where they're completely different.
Yeah.
It's so much like, holy shit, like I feel like they just wasted that story on like this part.
I
don't think you can go back and use this Barry going back in time to save his mom, because it's just going to be like, did you not learn your lesson the first time? Because the whole thing of that story is like, he's known for a long time. He can't go back in time and change things because of like what it could possibly do.
Yeah, to the timelines and stuff.
But like Reverse Flash fucks with him so much in his head that he is just like, fuck it, and he does it, and just doesn't have the realization that he does it when he's in the Flashpoint timeline.
See, that's what I was gonna say. That's why I like Flashpoint a lot. I don't think it's one of the greatest stories ever told.
I wouldn't say
like
it's one of the
DC.
greatest stories ever told, but it's
Because
like,
it is
it's
messy, right? Like, he just doesn't know that he ran back in time to save his mom. Oh no! Like, I like the reveal. I think it serves really well for what happens when Reverse Flash is like, yeah, it was actually you, dude. I didn't do any of this. I think that's strong, but like, it is a very just like convenient way to make that twist work later. It's like, oh, he just forgot.
I will say another part of that story too is he's going throughout and like he'll have these random points where he gets crazy migraines because his memories of this timeline and the other
old
timeline
one
are splicing together. So there's parts where he does remember and parts where he doesn't remember.
Yeah. I just think it's like, again, it's a very convenient way to serve up a plot twist. Is it's like he just forgot. He doesn't remember what he did. Which is fine. It's some temporal bullshit. That's cool. They provide an explanation for it, but it is still very convenient.
I like it because a lot of it has to deal with also the Reverse Flash, which in this movie I don't think is handled fucking well at all. Like the Reverse Flash type that they do, I don't fucking like at all in this movie, and I don't like that we get him for like 5 minutes of the fucking total movie.
I do agree that part. I mean, I don't think they were trying to do Reverse Flash, because Reverse Flash is obviously like a way different kind of fucked up character on his own, because like literally all Reverse Flash is just like the biggest Flash hater in the multiverse. He doesn't have any.
He's technically not a Flash hater.
No, he becomes a Flash hater. He's in love with the Flash, right? And it's his fucking prime hero. He loved him from the future and everything like that. Wants to serve up the thing. Emulates his powers. Flash comes back. He's a fucking psycho because he puts people into these situations that he then saves them from. Not a good dude from the beginning. Flash comes back, figures it out, fucks him up, and then he's like, fuck you, Flash, I hate you. I'm going to make your life a miserable hell. So, like, the Reverse Flash, as iconic as he is, I think the CW gave us a bigger emphasis on him than who he is as a villain to the Flash in the comic books. Because I would argue that, like, his rogues gallery is more important villains to the Flash in the comic books than Reverse Flash is. Reverse Flash is just like the biggest troll of all time and multiversal stakes. Like I don't think Reverse Flash is his mortal enemy in the comic books.
I would 1000%.
I think it's just because he's called Reverse Flash, but like Flash is like rogues type. He's like a Spider-Man in that he has relationships with all of these main villains that he fights with a lot of the time, like Captain Cold, like Mirror Master, like the Trickster, and all these other people, right? And I think those are stronger writing points than what Flash and Reverse Flash is. It's obviously iconic, right? Because you have literally the mirror opposite of who they are. But just in terms of like character dynamics, I think the show built that up to be a lot more than what is originally there and what the comic books came from.
Well, no, because in the comics, like, the Reverse Flash is the one who killed Barry's mom. So like,
Yeah.
there is this weird paradoxical thing where,
Well,
like,
he is a paradox.
Where he is a paradox because he exists on all these different fucking timelines because of all the manipulation he's done with time.
Yeah.
But he created, even in the comics, like created the Flash, like went back in time and manipulated the chemicals that fucking that were in his fucking office when the lightning struck, so he could become the Flash, so that in the future Reverse Flash can become the Reverse Flash and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I disagree that he is the like Green Goblin to fucking he is the Green Goblin.
I think he's more like Venom. Because again, it's that same thing of like the polar opposite of who you are. That sometimes that works really well, like with Joker and Batman, and that does make them your greatest villain, right?
Okay, so I think he is the Joker to
his Batman.
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah,
because he is like a big troll, but that's his thing. Is he's constantly fucking with Barry throughout his life. Like he went back and he killed his fucking mom. He's always doing all this shit. He went back and tried to kill fucking Iris and all that stuff like that. So like I see the whole like. His Rogues Gallery, I think, is very, like, iconic for sure. Like, I was watching, like, a bunch of Flash stuff recently, and I do like his Rogues Gallery a lot. But I think, like, especially for this story, like, the Reverse Flash is a much bigger, like, thing in the Flashpoint story because you're led to believe the whole time that the Reverse Flash is the one that did all of this shit. When in the end, the Reverse Flash comes and he's like, "Nah, bro, like
it was your fault.
It was your fucking fault, Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here and I'm going to revel in all of this shit. And I'm not gonna let you go back in fucking time because I want you to see all the shit that you fucking done and shit like that." So, well, I do think he does have a more personal relationship with his Rogues Gallery because he deals with them on just like a city basis. Unlike he's protecting the city from them like day to day. Like I do think like the Reverse Flash is his fucking mortal enemy at the end of the day because it's like throughout the time and throughout everything he's trying to fuck with the Flash the most because he actually knows who the fucking
who Flash is at the end of the day. Yeah, I can see it. I think he's just, maybe it's just because of like where they're at now. Like with, and I'm sure they're gonna reverse it at some point or another. But like they just did a story arc recently where like they brought to light how inconsequential everything that the Reverse Flash does, because all he does is make Barry the great hero that he is, right? And on top of that, Barry doesn't need him to do that to him anyways because he already is that person, right? That's just who it is. And like at this point now, they're not even enemies. Eobard Thawne is back to being just Eobard Thawne, and he's the curator at the Flash Museum in the future. So like maybe I'm just too fresh on that recent recap of everything going on of like, yeah, he's kind of just a troll. Like I find after reading that or after seeing the video of that, it makes it kind of hard for me to take him seriously as like a mortal enemy, because really in his core he is just like, I hate you, Flash, I want to make your life hard. And it's like, I don't know. It's just a little weak to me. That's all in comparison to some of the other ones. But to get back to the movie, The Flash, I don't think it would have been good to try and bring the Reverse Flash into this movie anyway. I think that, again, the spirit of the important points of Flashpoint are retained in this movie. It's not told exactly the same way, but I actually think it came at the perfect time because it came at the perfect time in the meta of things. Ideally, you would want the DCEU with all the Batflecks and the Henry Cavills and stuff like that to flesh out the way that it did and go on forever and ever so that you can have all of these like meaningful cameos of people that you know from the original source material, but that's not going to happen. That's not the way things are going to shake out. And we're moving into a new universe of things where everything is going to be different. And so I think this movie came at the perfect time in terms of the meta of what the DC cinematic universe is going through at this point, because it gives you a nice send off to most of the characters that we knew from the beginning, right? Obviously they do a quick throwaway of Cyborg. You're not going to get that because Ray Fisher doesn't fuck with Warner Brothers anymore. You get, I think, a good send off of both Batfleck and Wonder Woman. Superman leaves a little bit to be desired, but as much as I love Henry Cavill, he's not like my end all be all Superman by any means. So I'm okay letting go of him. I have been okay with letting go of him for a long time.
I'm not, man.
I know, but but they're gonna find somebody better. I think I'm pretty confident that James Gunn's Superman is probably gonna be one of, if not the best Superman iterations on screen. But it's obviously very early to say that. I just think he's the right person for the job right now in this day and age. But I think you get a good send-off for everybody. Again, you get the spirit, because the majority of what happens in Flashpoint is Batman and Flash related. It's not Thomas Wayne, because we don't really have a basis for that. It's hard to just bring up Thomas Wayne for general audiences, because nobody's going to know who the fuck he is or why it's significant that he is Batman and not Bruce Wayne. At least not without like another 15 minutes of exposition, right? So bringing back an actual real life Batman who's retired now and doesn't fuck with shit and everything, I think is really good. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Superman was never important to begin with in Flashpoint. Again, it's cool, but he doesn't fucking matter. He's just a skinny version of Superman who shows up at the last minute to help them fight people in the end. And that's it. He's inconsequential, right? I was a little sad with how that was handled. Again, I think in spirit, it's fine. I just think it's a bummer that we finally get the first like big budget live action casting of a Supergirl or Superwoman, whatever she decided to go by.
And they don't do shit with her.
No, she's cool. Like she has some really good moments, but then they just kill her over and over and over and over again. Like Zod just absolutely murders her like at least 4 times on screen.
She's like, I don't like humans. And then 5 minutes later, she's like,
you guys are cool.
I like humans.
Yeah, you saved me, so I guess you guys are cool or whatever. So I was a little bit, I think performance-wise, I think she was pretty good. Like, I don't think she was bad in the role. I just think what was written up for her left a little bit to be desired. So wasn't super jazzed up about that. I do think that as much as they will still say it's a convenient way to pull off the twist of like, oh, it was Barry all along, I think that could have been good. But at the same time, I think it would have taken away from the personal aspect that this movie brings that I don't think the Flashpoint cartoon has. I like the cartoon movie overall better, I think, just because it's classic. It's very, very classic. It sticks to the source material through and through, and it's pretty much a perfect like animated rendition of what that would be. But I don't think it has as much heart as this movie does.
I see. I don't even think this movie has that much heart. Like, at least to me, like, I didn't really feel fucking much throughout this movie at all. And I've been crying like a baby throughout every single fucking movie, like, recently.
I thought it was good. I think, I honestly, I mean, I could be wrong here, but, like, I knew going into it, as soon as we saw the first thing, just because the conversation we had based off of the trailers, I was like, you're not going to be able to get into this movie because of the CGI. And,
well,
like,
I don't even think it's that. Like, to me, there's not much of, like, there's not enough with his mom for me to feel it at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of just like he has this conversation with Bruce where he accidentally goes and travels back in time. He's like, oh my God, Bruce, like, I can go back and I can fucking, like, I can save my mom, bro. Like, I can fucking do it. And then he gets hella sad and he travels fucking back in time and he does it. And he spends a little bit of time with his mom, but then Young Barry comes into it and it's pretty much just him and Young Barry the rest of the fucking time.
See, because for me, this is why, like, I like Robert Pattinson's Batman a lot more than I like any other Batmans, right? Is that, like, for me personally, this could just be a thing of, like, personal interest, right? But I don't need to see Barry Allen spend a lot of time with his mom in order for, like, I don't need to be told in front of me on visual images, like, Barry and his mom love each other. This is you seeing them loving each other. They're loving each other for a long period of time. Here's what happens. Oh, no, he doesn't have them anymore. I think, again, as controversial as the actor is in real life, I think Ezra Miller's performance of how heartbroken he was anytime he saw his mother in real life or anytime he realized he had to make a decision that got him closer and closer to the fact that he is going to have to let her die was enough for me to sell the emotional weight of the fact that Barry Allen just fucking misses his mom. He just misses his parents, dude. Like, that shit was so fucking sad to me in this movie that, like, he's literally just a lost little boy. And I think it really does play more accurately into what a quote unquote grounded Barry Allen would be like, right? Because a kid who witnessed the death of his mother and then his father subsequently got framed for it and put in prison for life probably wouldn't turn out to be like a happy-go-lucky, quippy kind of guy or whatever. I think he would be more like the portrayal that we see in this movie. And I won't say that it gets points simply for doing that, but for me personally, I think they did that very well. Because the entire time, I could not help but feel sorry for Barry. Like, whether it's the beginning when he's just trying to figure out these quick little things of, like, helping his dad back out of prison, to him clutching the little teddy bear, to, like, him even just seeing pictures of his mom or remembering back to sections of his mom and stuff like that. I think the actor's performance sold me well enough that I was like, damn, this fool's going through it. Like, he has for sure not stopped thinking about this every single day of his life. No wonder he would go back and make this decision. Because, like, that's the thing that's always been difficult for me about Barry doing the... Like, well, the way it happens in Flashpoint is, like, he fucking knocks out all of his rogues gallery in one go. All the Justice League do some cool shit together, and he's like, wow, that was a really great night. I'm going to go for a run. And then he just accidentally changes everything back. Right? Like, there's no emotional weight to the decision necessarily because, again, he just does it by accident. He doesn't mean to. It's not a choice. So I think that putting that agency in this Barry's hands makes him more responsible for it all, and I think makes it even more heartbreaking when he has to undo it at the end because he has to roll back his decision, not something that just accidentally happened in the grand scheme of the multiverse. So I like it. I think the heart is there for me personally in that sense. I think there are emotional stakes to the story in a way that there weren't for me in the in the animated version. I still like the animated version more, again, because it's more faithful. It's not as messy. It sticks to the beats that appeal to a longtime DC fan who understands the ins and outs of what the DC universe is like. And that's where I want to get to eventually. That's what, like, my ideal Flashpoint movie looks like. But for the circumstances of where we're at, I think they did the best job that they could have. I don't know that there's a better way to do that movie right now than what we got. I think it was pretty good overall. Mm-hmm. I was down.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had fun with the movie. Again, I just didn't feel enough between him, like, and his mom. Like, not that I need to see, like, a whole, like, 30 minutes long, like, conversation with, like, him and his mom. I'm like, oh my God, Mom, like, I love you so much. But I felt like it was very quick of, like, hey, what's up? I see my mom, like, I'm going to give her this fucking big ol' hug, and then, yeah, all of a sudden we're going to be eating dinner, and I'm going to be hella just fucking random and shit, because I don't know what the fuck is actually going on in my life. And I'm just, then I see younger Barry, and this is like, oh, I got to fucking, like, there wasn't, like, to me, and I think we've for sure done, like, a good job of not comparing this to, like, Spider-Verse. But, like, with Spider-Verse, right, like, in Into the Spider-Verse, his mom was not, like, Miles' mom was not this super big character like she is normally, like, in the comics, like, in the game and stuff like that. But in the second movie, they did a really good job of making her a bigger part in his life. And, like, they do, like, a scene, like, when Miles and his mom are talking on the rooftop after, like, Gwen has to just, like, dip out, like, scenes like that, like, really make me feel the connection between, like, the son and the mom, like, a lot more. Like, again, like, I don't need this whole, like, 30-minute long, like, long-ass scene between him and the mom together, but I need at least, like, something, like, yeah, there was the whole, like, when he's, like, remembering himself as the kid or something like that, or something when she was just like, you don't have to, like, change everything and stuff, like, yeah, there was that, like, kind of played in, like, at the end, but there wasn't enough for me to be like, oh my God, like,
I think that's
I'm so touched by the story.
I think that's a different movie because, like, you have to think about the circumstances, right? Like, Barry doesn't have any status quo to go off of in terms of how he should interact with his mom, aside from the traumatic memories that he has as a kid, right? So, like, even if they do spend 15, 20 minutes, even less, 10 minutes, whatever, trying to do a solid scene between them, what do they do that is not already done at the end of the movie when he sees her in the grocery store? Like, that's really all you can do with, like, you can't introduce an adult Barry at a point where he has no memory of his mom that you're going to get that emotional impact without making the entire movie about just that. Like if this was a TV show and that was like a 1 or 2 or 3 episode arc even of like, okay, let's let Barry not give a shit about the multiverse and he's just going to spend time with his mom, I could see it. But like in a feature film like this, that scared me for a second. I was like, whoa. I don't know. I just feel like it's not. I think they've been. I personally would have thought the movie would dragged if they tried to spend more time with the mom than they did already. Because like, he has to pull away from it eventually. He realizes pretty quickly like, oh damn, I fucked up the multiverse. Like, shit's wrong. Like I'm not supposed to be here. So like, it would just be irresponsible of him as a Flash, as Barry Allen, to just indulge in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think up to the point where he, like, I don't know. Like, I get the whole, like, that would be irresponsible as a Flash, but it's already irresponsible for him to go back and change the timeline as it is to go back and change the shit.
Yeah, but you don't want him to, like, keep making mistakes the whole movie. He's got to make the big one, and then he's got to fix it. Otherwise, he's just an idiot.
I would have at least liked to have seen, like, a conversation, because obviously, like, he has never, the Barry that we know didn't grow up with the mom, so he obviously maybe wouldn't know how to navigate a conversation between him and his mom because maybe he wouldn't know how to act, you know.
Well, like with him, he's going to revert back to childhood because he doesn't have any adult interactions with her.
But, I mean, it would have at least been nice to have seen them, like, have a scene where, like, yeah, maybe it's cliche where he's like, oh, I got this problem where I can't really tell you about it, so I'm going to tell you about, like, oh my God, my friend has it. Like, you know, something where he's trying to talk to her to get some sort of advice on something that he is going through without being super explicit on like, hey, this is what's going down. Like, I would have liked to have seen something like that where he's like, damn, Mom, like, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have anything? You know, like...
Yeah, I mean, I do understand
it would have given me a little bit more to go on, like, holy shit, like, okay, like, I really feel this whole... Like, I'm sold on this, like, missing your mom. Like, obviously everyone's gonna miss their mom. Like, if your mom passes away, like, you're gonna miss them, like 1000%. But in a sense of a movie, you have to sell me a little bit more other than the generic, like, my mom passed me when I was a kid and oh my gosh, I miss her. Like, of course, like, I get it, like, I understand, but like, give me just a little bit more something to go on other than just like, oh my God, I see you and I haven't seen you and I'm gonna hug you. Like, yes, that's heartwarming, but like, I don't know, me personally, I needed a little bit more to feel that little, you know, a little bit something at the end.
No, yeah, I feel it. I think honestly too, another thing that's at play here as well is that like movie makers are smart nowadays in terms of what they know the audience does and doesn't know or is familiar with, right? And I think a lot of this movie speaks to the fact that like because of the Flash CW show, a wide portion of this audience like knows those emotional stakes already, right? Like same thing with like, that's why I think Batfleck is one of the better startups for Batman, is because they don't really waste time with Martha and Thomas Wayne. Same reason why I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is good for the time it came out, because they don't make you watch Uncle Ben die again, right? Like, yeah, you do see the death scene at the beginning of this one, but I think they're betting on the fact that you've seen the CW verse, and so you know how dramatic and heavy Barry can get over missing his mom, like over and over and over again, all the different times that they do it in the series and whatnot. But that I think is another thing at play here too. Is like this movie's very meta in general. There's a lot of times where they're asking the audience to be like, "Hey, you know what's going on in the real world with this stuff, right?" Haha, wink, wink. So I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, and that's I would say that's another, like, there is one tough thing about this movie for me is like, this is a movie that, and we always talk about movies that expect you to watch other shit. Yeah. Like, this is definitely a movie that expects you to have watched Justice League that came out a fucking long ass fucking time ago, which is like, it's fine, you know. It's just, you know, it's 1 or 2 movies that you have to fucking watch. But again, it's like, fuck, I gotta watch a movie from fucking.
I mean, I will say
6 years ago.
I will say this is that like, because I asked Ev about this afterwards. I was like, hey, if you didn't have me next to you in your ear whispering all these things about these characters and whatnot, and like where the connections are, do you think you would have been able to follow the movie? And I was like, because I think it would have been hard. And she's like, no, like everything in the context of the movie still works there. She's like, I probably wouldn't have like clapped and cheered the way you guys did when you saw all these different things or whatever. But she's like, because if you think about it, right, like any character changes that they do, like a Superman or a Batman or any of that, there's a regular version of that presented to you in the beginning of the movie. So you as the viewer within this 2 hours and 25 minutes at least understand like, oh shit, that's not the Batman that Barry Allen knows. That super person is not a man, that's a girl or whatever it is, right? So like I do agree that there's not as much satisfaction gained if you haven't seen those movies before. But I think you could watch it, and the same thing as Spider-Verse, right? Like, I think you can watch Across the Spider-Verse, and I think you can watch Flash on their own, and you'll be fine. Yeah. You will be able to understand what's happening in the movie. You will be able to get what's going on with the story. But if you have the knowledge beforehand, a lot of things in it are going to be more satisfying. So it's like, you do what you want to do at that point, which is, I think, a happy medium, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to be so deep into the movie universe with some, like Endgame, as much as I think that's probably the greatest Marvel movie, you can't watch that without watching Infinity War at the very least, right? So that's a bummer, right? But you don't also want something like fucking Amazing Spider-Man, which came out 5 years after the original Spider-Man show ended, or sorry, not show, movie, and be like, hey, we're going to show you everything that happened again in the first movie. You know what I mean? Like, so I think this is a happy medium of like, there's things in there for the fans that know, but everybody else, you're going to jump on board right here, and we're just going to get going.
I feel that.
It's a hard balance to attain.
Yeah.
But again, it's just where we are now because we have so much superhero media in this world right now.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I feel it. I was down for the suit. I'm not down for the helmet, but the overall suit.
The helmet just needs to take off this bit right here.
No, it needs to add like a
the chin strap.
It needs to add the chin strap.
Yeah.
Like as much as that probably like people don't think like it's a good idea. Like I think it rounds out the mask.
I feel like this part for me was what ruined it. It was too Batman. Like Batman's closes off at the mouth right here. I need Barry's to be open.
Well, it is open. It's just too open. Like once you add the chin strap, like it just makes more sense. You're just like, oh, okay. Because like the early like CW Flash, they did the chin strap and it looked fine. I remember when they took away the chin strap, everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, what'd you do that shit for? But
honestly,
then they added the chin strap back.
I bet you anything that is probably a technical thing and not a design choice. Because it's like the CW Flash, I think, is a perfect example of it, right? In the beginning, they were like, no, let's go for the design. Like, that looks good. But I bet you anything, Grant Gustin was like, this is fucking uncomfortable, and I can't talk in this thing. So they took it away.
All I'm saying is you can get fucking movies where Spider-Man is talking with the whole ass fucking mask on his face. So
yeah, but that's voiceover, though.
Yeah, but you can fucking probably do some shit where you just get some
CGI on there.
You could do something. Yeah. You could do something.
They
man.
could.
You
they
could
could.
do something. Let's go over the fucking cameos real quick.
Yeah.
Shit. Because the cameos... were pretty cool. Obviously, I said it earlier. I didn't really get too much out of the cameos. Like they were really cool. But
are you talking about the ones at the very end or the ones in the movie? Because there's like the multiverse cameos, and then there's like the ones across from I would say the beginning to the end of the movie. Like we knew about a lot of them, but like I would say Batfleck is a cameo. I would say Gal Gadot is a cameo. I would say Keaton is a cameo. And even though she's not like a character beforehand, I would say Supergirl's also a cameo.
I will say Gal Gadot, I'll throw in as a cameo because we didn't know she was necessarily going to be in there. But Batfleck, we knew he was going to be in the movie, so it's not. I don't consider that a cameo if you know they're going to be.
I mean,
if they're
we
shown
should
in if they're shown in the trailer, I don't think that's a cameo.
But we should look up what cameo means because I think it's a small appearance by a character. At least to me, a cameo is that like a small appearance by a character that you like that doesn't have a whole lot to do with the movie. It's just fun to see them, right? Like you go into every Marvel movie knowing that Stan Lee's going to be in it, but that doesn't mean it's not a cameo. Yeah, see, I would say that's a cameo.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying because we knew he was in it already, but but in terms of like, that's why I'm trying to separate him, right? Because he's not a role in the movie. I wouldn't say Ben Affleck plays a role in the story.
Because I'll take it back to like cameos on like 90s or like early like sitcom television shows, right? You didn't know, like if Kobe Bryant was on an episode of like Full House, let's say, you didn't know Kobe Bryant was going to be in that episode. but Kobe Bryant just shows up in that episode, and you're like, holy fuck, that's fucking Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
To me, that's a cameo.
Okay.
But if I see you in the trailer and I know Kobe Bryant's going to be in the episode, I don't consider that a cameo because I know you're going to be in the episode.
I would, yeah, okay.
You know?
I think it's just tit for tat, tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
Because I think
to me,
it's like a surprise cameo versus a cameo, I think. Because again, by the definition of cameo, all it is a small part or role by a distinguished actor or celebrity. And I think knowing the fact that Ben Affleck is no longer going to play Batman and having him in a small part in the beginning where he gets to kick ass, to me serves as a cameo. Because I wouldn't call him a character. I wouldn't call it an Easter egg. So it's just a cameo. By default, I think it's a cameo. It's not a surprise one. I agree with that, right? Because they did telegraph their moves in the beginning.
Then I don't think you can say Batfleck or not Batfleck. I don't think you can say Keaton or Supergirl are cameos because they definitely have like a bigger role. They're like bigger roles in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's
just at least for me. Like cameos, I like.
You want to be surprised by?
I want to be surprised by like.
See, the thing for me that like, I had to wrestle with this for when No Way Home came out, right? Because like everybody knew that we were going to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
See, but they weren't in the trailer.
No, but everybody knew it was going to happen. So, like, again, they did.
Everybody speculated.
Okay, but so here's the thing. I think that if a thing relies purely on the surprise of something, it's not good. If you told me ahead of time that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, or if you told me ahead of time, like they did, that Batfleck was going to be in The Flash, that doesn't automatically make it good or bad to me. The thing within the movie still needs to be good on its own. I don't think the surprise factor should do anything for it, because if that's the case, it's a one-hit wonder, and that's it. It's only good the first time you see it because you didn't know it was going to happen, and then it's over. Every time you revisit it, it would be lame after that.
Nah, I disagree with that, because I feel like anytime you watch like, say you're watching say you're watching Happy Gilmore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the Pro-Am. And the scene where he fucking is playing with what's his name from the fucking what's his fucking name?
The old dude?
Bob Barker. Like, that's a cameo.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, like you watch it once and you know, right? But to me, that type of cameo doesn't lose its magic over time just because of like the scene that it is, right?
That's what I'm saying, is that the thing itself still has to be good. Like, the surprise is not what makes that thing. And so that's why I'm saying that, like, I don't personally need to be surprised or not know something to happen or in order for me to be satisfied by it. Like, the fact that I knew Michael Keaton and Batfleck were going to be in this movie didn't take away from how much I enjoyed seeing Michael Keaton and Batfleck in the roles that they were in. That's all I'm saying. Is
okay.
like,
No.
If you're relying purely on the surprise, that's a dangerous bet, man.
I gotta be surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, I overall I thought it was good. I think the cameos at the end are fine. That's the part where like the movie falls apart for me at the end. But at the same time, I understand why they did it, because I don't see that James Gunn, I think, already announced that Blue Beetle is the first movie in the DCU officially. So I think the DCEU is done with this movie.
1,000%.
And so with that in mind, I am more understanding as to why they gave them one last hurrah of like, oh, look at this. Like, we actually did plan, they didn't, but they're going to pretend like we did have all of these things existing alongside the world that we were creating all along or whatever, right? Like Christopher Reeves was there, and so was fucking John Reeves, I think is his name. George Reeves, thank you. So was fucking Nick Cage. See, my main problem with that, too many fucking Supermans. Like, give me more cameos from other heroes. Like,
give me more Flash.
Sure, that's fine.
We didn't get any other multiversal Flash other than fucking
you got
Teddy
Jay
Sears'
Garrick.
Jay Garrick.
Yeah.
That's not really Jay Garrick.
Maybe, we don't know. Because they didn't tell us specifically that's Jay Garrick from The Flash. It might just be Teddy Sears portraying Jay Garrick. But that was my main problem, was like they just used it. It seemed like a really weird half-assed apology for everything that happened with Henry Cavill. They're like, sorry we lost Henry Cavill, but here's all these other cool Supermen that we had. Like, here's Christopher Reeves, here's Nicolas Cage, here's George Reeves. You know, like, I was like, you saw Adam West, which was cool, but like, I just would have liked to even have seen CGI'd versions of Justice League members that we've never seen before.
Where was the Wonder Woman for the classic Wonder Woman show?
Yeah, Linda Carter.
Yeah.
That would have been cool too. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it was just too many Supermans, I think, at the end of it was like what it was for me. It felt like a very weird, like, sorry about Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I just have a problem with like the Nick Cage one I was fine with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that shit's fucking super cool. Seeing Nick Cage as fucking Superman with long ass hair, pretty fucking nuts.
I thought he looked goofy, but it's
well, I mean, they looked CG, so they all looked goofy to me.
I just mean his design. Like, I'm glad that that's not what they went with, because I think that would have been pretty hard to look at for 2 hours, personally. But
well, it was back then, so they would have fucking done anything.
Yeah,
you know?
true.
So
True.
They probably would have.
It would have been an early 2000s Superman movie.
But I mean, I was fine with it. You know, I wasn't too afraid of it. The ones I was like, was the Christopher Reeves and the George Reeves ones, because obviously they're both no longer with us. So.
Adam West too.
And Adam West, so it's like. So the Adam West one I didn't have like a problem with, because that is more of like, I feel like something that they took out of like maybe a shot from a show and we're like, cool, we're gonna fucking paste
I think
this in
the
here.
George Reeves one was too at that point then, though, because it's just him standing there like that in black and
But
white.
he looks like crazy CG'd versus like it looked like, okay, we're gonna take this from like the TV show and just put this in here. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little would have looked weird of just like the classic, like the way the TV show looked, but. To me, that's more like authentic than just like, oh, we're gonna digitally recreate what these people's likeness
Look like, yeah,
that aren't here, so we can't get their actual permission to recreate their likeness on the shit. That's the only thing I have a problem with. Also, George Reeves, freaking probably a lot of people speculate died because of the role of Superman, because it just took too much of a toll on him, like his mental health and shit like that. So it's like, it is just a weird thing, like digitally recreating someone's likeness just for like a small spot in something that really doesn't have anything to do with like the larger aspect of like the movie, other than just like, hey, what's up? Yeah, this is like you were saying, like, hey, yeah, like everything's just connected.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
everything's connected.
I would say because I do agree with you. I would rather it not happen at all, but it's gonna happen. Yeah. And so personally, I would rather it happen like this, as opposed to them trying to digitally revive somebody for an entire role. If I have to see somebody digitally revived, just do it as like a nod to that person, as opposed, because it'd be worse if they spoke. That'd be fucking weird, because then they're literally like zombifying them, right? Like it's weird, yeah, but if that's the case, right? Like, if you just shouldn't recreate somebody in a digital medium, then like people also shouldn't do digital art renditions of Christopher Reeve Superman and sell those either, right? Like, I get it's on a bigger scale, but it's essentially the same thing. So like, as long as it's contained like that for cameos and stuff like that, I have less of a problem with it, because I understand that they're gonna fucking do it regardless of what we want. But I was also like, I don't need this. I don't think that needs to be in there. So it is what it is.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. And then fucking George Clooney at the end.
Oh, yeah. That one was a funny one.
We get motherfucking... Oh, hey, what's up?
What's up, dude?
We get
Mr. Clooney.
George.
One of the not so favorited Batmans.
I was down with it, man. The only thing, like, a lot of people have been saying, like, why does Batman have a fucking beard? Like, wouldn't people recognize Batman because he has a fucking...
No,
like,
what the fuck?
What do you mean? His beard's just sticking out all the time.
Yeah, but wait, we could probably test this, and I guarantee you a lot of people would fail it. Just because somebody has a beard poking out of this bottom part of their mouth doesn't mean you're going to recognize that person based off of their beard. Unless you're a person who spends a lot of time with Batman and a lot of time with Bruce Wayne, a random is not going to make that connection. It's just a dude with a beard.
I don't know. I think Batman just also I've never seen Batman with a beard too.
He usually has, the only time I've ever seen is like he has stubble sometimes, but I've never seen him fully bearded up. But we also don't know. Maybe he's retired.
True.
They never show him as Batman. He's just Bruce Wayne in this one.
But yeah, I mean, I was down. From what I've heard and what I've read is that they actually filmed like a bunch of different like end credit scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and like when they did like early screenings, like.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't actually see George Clooney because it was funny. Like when like he was talking on the phone, I was like, "Whose fucking voice?"
Yeah,
is
it doesn't
that?
sound like
Like,
Ben Affleck. Yeah,
It didn't sound like Affleck. It didn't sound like Affleck. It didn't sound like Keaton either. I was like, who does it fucking sound like? So I couldn't place it. So apparently, like when they did early screenings, like you just see like the feet get out, and you just hear as
George Clooney's voice.
you just hear Ezra Miller go, "Who the fuck are you?" Like,
Oh,
"Who the fuck
okay,
are you?"
okay.
And then it's like that's it.
Yeah, that's probably
And
too confusing though.
I personally would have liked that more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we are going into a new era of we're gonna get Batman, the Brave and the Bold,
Mm-hmm.
and like while I don't think George Clooney is going to be playing the Batman, that's
No.
the Batman, the Brave and the Bold.
No way.
It does still beg the question because it's not clear of like, so what timeline is this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think personally, and I've seen this theory online, and I've been like, okay, I think this is the one. I think when Barry came back, he didn't come back to his actual timeline. He came back to the timeline where fucking George Clooney is the
Was
fucking Batman.
Yeah, I
And
could see that.
so they're just gonna fucking recast.
I mean,
Ezra
that's
Miller.
also weird though, because then that means Aquaman, Jason Momoa also ended up being Aquaman in George Clooney's timeline.
Well, he did also say like at the other end credit scene, that's a pretty fucking dog shit end credit scene.
Yeah, it is pretty bad.
He's just like Aquaman asked him, he's like, so I'm just the fucking same everywhere. He's like, yeah, you're pretty much the same,
Except
like,
for when you're a dog.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so I can see like him just being pretty constant over like across the
Yeah.
multiverse, you
Yeah.
know, and just Batman is for I don't know whatever
Just
reason
always changing.
always
yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. I thought I was gonna make it through the whole episode. Definitely not though. So
it's all good, dude. I have nothing else to say on the
Okay,
Flash
perfect,
other
yeah.
than like I rate it like
yeah, what's the last ratings we can
I
say?
rate it like a 6.5.
Okay, yeah, I give it I think I said this the night of. I give it like a strong 7. Because like it didn't get high enough to be one of the best for me, but it was very close. So it's like a strong mediocre film. It's a strong 7 to me.
Yeah,
No.
it's not the best, but it's
not the worst. Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, guys, that was episode number motherfucking 62.
I made it technically.
He made it a whole episode without having to go pee. Join us next week for episode 63. We'll be talking about some Wes Anderson
Yeah.
shit. His new movie is coming out.
Some Asteroid City.
Yeah, by the time you hear this, it'll be out, and we'll be recording the new episode.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about some Asteroid City. Maybe talk about some other Wes Anderson
Yeah,
movies.
who knows?
You know?
We can watch
Who knows?
one or two. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about it. But yeah, guys, go check out The Flash, or don't check out The Flash if you don't
Whatever
fuck
you
with
gotta
Ezra Miller.
It's already not making a lot of money, so it's not
Exactly.
going to change it either way.
Yeah, so don't go and watch it if you don't
Yeah.
want to. But yeah, guys, this is Romy Ryan.
Homie Daniel.